This episode of the Giant Bombcast is brought to you in part by Truebill. What's Truebill? Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions that you don't need, don't want, or simply forgot about. On average, people can save up to $720 per year with Truebill. And how's Truebill work? Look, okay, some companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, so Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts, and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in just one tap. Your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so that you don't have to. So what else you got going on? Don't fall for these subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/bomb. Go right now, truebill.com/bomb. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/bomb. Welcome everybody to the Giant Bombcast. It's us, your 3-hour party people.
Yes, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah, after the 3 hours, I'm done.
Nope, that's it. I gotta go.
Yep.
Go to bed.
That's right. I'm Jeff Gerstmann. Jan Jerome Ochoa is here.
Whoa.
And he's in trouble.
I thought I was in trouble. I really thought I was in trouble. Like, what did
Can't
I do?
believe this. What would you do? You got to bring enough watches for the whole class.
What?
He
Okay.
opens
yes.
his trench coat.
Yeah.
He's
You
like,
know-
sure.
Yeah, as a child, I really liked trench coats because I thought they were hella sick.
Yep.
And then now as an adult, I like pounds of watches. So
Well, I mean, we were of age around Matrix time, so like we were very susceptible to that propaganda about trench coats being
before
cool.
Yes.
that, before
Jess
that.
O'Brien is here with the Matrix chatter.
That you crave.
And the
You
goth
crave.
chatter. The goths wore the trench coats. all the goths.
I feel like in the early 90s, this is like kind of like my late high school or early to mid 90s, my kind of post high school pre-working. Well, I was working for Matt anyway. Like I wanted to get like, is it a pea coat that's like it's like a trench coat that basically goes down to about your knees. It's not like full length. So
I
it's
think
like
that's
this
a
kind of
duster.
a duster. Okay.
Well,
Ooh.
A pea coat can definitely like sit right above the kneecaps.
Yeah.
No, a pea coat?
My
Pea coat.
My-
Long
man.
ass pea coat.
my
You're
ex
welcome.
bought a duster, like a cowboy duster.
Okay.
We lived
you're right.
in Hoboken, and
Yeah.
he had
We're
a
the
cowboy
we're cowboys.
duster,
Yeah.
and he had a katana,
And did cowboy
and
shit.
he had toe shoes. And yes, he was a programmer. Why do you ask?
Okay. Yeah. That's
Jess-
did he also do the devil sticks?
Oh,
Yes.
you know, I think he used to, and he didn't have anymore. But I think he,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
see
Just
devil
checking
sticks
all
in the.
checking all the boxes.
Mm,
I'm going to say
here.
you're better off without them.
Yeah.
He was very unique in a very stereotypical way.
Okay. Was it toe shoes like the individual toes or like
Individual
the ninja?
toes.
Okay.
Individual toes.
God, those fucking. Okay.
He wore those to a fucking wedding. I shit you not.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a cool dude.
Sounds awesome.
That's rad. That's a rad guy.
To
Yeah,
put you through that is like so unkind.
Yeah.
I was so patient.
How are you not like married? How do you not? Where's this guy now? What's going on?
He
Like,
broke up with me. That's what's
Wow,
fucked up.
okay, yeah.
That's what's fucked up. That's how
So
low
you're
my
not
self-esteem
supportive
was.
How many birthdays have we been together and you did not purchase me new devil sticks? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, we're
We're
through.
done. Anyway, I wanted to wear like that kind of like knee length trench, whatever you want to call it. Not a duster. That's just different material. And then jean shorts.
Yeah.
You know,
Come on.
that was a look.
Nice,
That was a
nice.
that was a fucking West Coast look. That was
Yeah.
That's like a undercover cop on the beach look. This is what
yeah.
that is, dude.
That was some fucking Fletch has to go buy smack from the dudes on the beach.
Hell yeah. Under
Let's
the fucking
fucking-
boardwalk.
Let's make it
do
happen. But I never did make that happen. Jeff Baclar is here.
Hey. No trench coats today.
No trench coat, but you've owned I feel like you're of an age where you owned a trench coat, or at least had an opportunity to become that person.
I mean, sure, we're all faced with that at some point in our lives, where we look down at a fork in the road and we go, are we going left? Are we going right? Are we going down the middle? And
you're like, Clerks is big. I'm in New Jersey.
Look, who else more than me felt the pressure to assimilate with the Kevin Smith population? You know,
I feel
that
like
Clerks is what? You feel like Jason?
No, I feel like Jason has all of these objects.
Yeah,
all these objects of power.
Yeah,
yes. He's definitely worn a trench with jean shorts with a long ponytail. Not the toe shoes.
No toe shoes.
No,
we know about the ponytail. That's been documented. No, I never like. Clerks came out when I was like 11. Or 12 maybe. So like, as much as I saw that pretty soon after, it was still above my
it was not
sort of purview there.
So like I had friends that like I had a friend who worked in a video store and they shot their own black and white fucking bad public access
hell yeah
thing called Video Store Massacre, where everyone gets killed at the end and they just do a bunch of bad effects, and it was Clerks hit hard. Clerks left a lot of damage in its wake.
I visited the Clerks convenience store. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I did too.
It's very close to my home.
I have a photo somewhere of me standing in front of it, and someone across the street looked at me and went,
You're not from around here, are you?
They took a picture of me milkmaiding.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I took a picture next to the bathroom, like.
I gotta say, it was really.
Podcast listeners can't tell, but I'm doing finger guns at the door.
Like, Jesus. I gotta say, it was really interesting to see just how impressionable the Kevin Smith sort of era. I don't want to end it. I don't want to say it's over, but like in the Renaissance, in that golden era, right, of like 90s, early 2000s. It really had such a resonating effect. I went recently to Red Bank, New Jersey, which is, even though it's not where that movie was shot, it is sort of declared like Kevin Smith HQ.
That's where he opened the comic book store.
The comic book store is there,
there. I don't know if it moved.
Also, Red Bank is like pretty nice. Like,
Red Bank's
nice
great.
Neighborhood.
It's amazing. So anyway, I bring.
No, maybe it is, but it is just very nice there.
Every now and then you slip into Borat, whether or not you want to, Jan. It's a part of life. So I went to go see a show there recently. This Hulu program I really like called Letterkenny was doing a live thing there. And if you've watched Letterkenny, you're like, oh, these guys are obviously obsessed with like Kevin Smith, stuff, because the entire show is dialogue. It's like quick dialogue based and just insane inside jokes. So when I was there, they're all on stage, after the show ends, and they're like, everyone's applauding, and they all took their turns being like, it's so amazing to be here in Red Bank. And they're all like wearing hockey jerseys, and they're like so jazzed about it.
Wow.
And it was really nice to see that, like how impressionable.
That's kind of cute,
that guy.
though.
It was great. I loved every second.
They're all legit Canadian. They're like Canadians, right? They're not.
They're all legit. Rural ass Canadians.
There's a sincerity there that you can't fake.
Like the best part was they were talking, one guy was like, I love Bruce Springsteen, and everyone's like, yeah, and then everyone started doing the Bruce chant, but sounds like boo. And because they're not from here, they were like, why are you booing us? We're lovely Canadians. And they had to explain. Good. It was really a special moment, I gotta say. Canadians being confronted with New Jersey in the most direct, impactful way.
Sure.
Great.
That's
it was great.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's like a roadmap of like, it's like, well, I'm trying to think. Like, what is the full? It's like it's.
Talking about our Mount Rushmore. Is that what you're trying to do?
No, the not the New Jersey, but like there's the roadmap of influence from like Clerks, and then somewhere Fight Club is on that line.
Oh God,
over out here, and CKY fits on that. Like there's just some kind of like it's the
Boondock Saints.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, I guess so. Yeah, there's probably some kind of forks
Reedus.
in that road. But yeah, I don't know. There's an exact specific type of person that you can kind of fucking create out of those influences, and I met almost all of them. I feel
they're all between the ages of 35 and 45 and 35 and 50 right now. Like that is who those people are.
And they're still talking fast like those movies and still making the same references they made then.
They are. I gotta say, you put Wayne's World in there, just like a little sprinkling of Wayne's World,
like early like chapter 0 kind of like Wayne's World over here. Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Michael Myers wasn't well liked at SNL. I just learned this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He just really liked keeping to himself and just kind of stuck to like really just embody those characters type of deal. He wasn't like super popular backstage. Kind of just did his job and dipped out.
Interesting.
And then I went.
He's
and watched
wasn't doing
again.
coke with everybody else. No,
no, just his solo coke.
Solo coke. Excuse me, I'm just gonna solo coke.
I'm just over here.
I did watch a couple episodes of his Pentaveret thing on Netflix.
Pentaveret?
Yeah, it's about
Pentaveret.
So if you've ever seen So I Married an Axe Murderer,
yes,
Mike Myers plays his father in that.
What's the word Pentaveret?
Pentaveret? It's referring to like a 5-leadered Illuminati, like the Pentaveret. Yeah. So
I need a word of the day calendar or some shit. I've never heard that in my life.
I don't know if it's a real word, but in So I Married an Axe Murderer, his father tells this like conspiracy theory about a Pentaveret that is run by these 5 global leaders. And I don't know if that was like the inception point for what this show is on Netflix, but that is like, you go back and watch that 25, 30-year-old movie and they specifically talk about the thing that the Netflix show in 2022 is exactly about. And I thought that was a kind of funny little...
That's a weird...
I don't know. It's weird, right? Isn't that weird?
That's a weird thing to hang on to for all those years and be like, I'm finally getting back to it. Finally, someone has given me the budget to
got that
really...
Netflix money to really explore that throwaway line of dialogue.
That's funny.
Who put out the Austin Powers video game? The one on the Game Boy?
Rockstar.
Rockstar.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto people, also known as the Austin Powers people.
Because I was thinking with all this Multiversus stuff and like, the melding of properties, how come Austin Powers hasn't wound up back in a video game somewhere?
Yo, can we make a GTA that takes place in the 60s and you play as Austin Powers?
It kind of pretty much, there is the London 1969 add-on for GTA 1.
Oh.
It pretty much,
he'll find his way into Call of Duty. Like he'll just...
What do you think is first, Shrek or Austin Powers?
Honestly, like Shrek almost seems too normal.
Activision published the Shrek games, I think. So there's,
there's a through line.
There is some kind of dark lineage. I feel like it's going to happen, right? There's going to be some kind of Austin Powers renaissance, whether we want it or not. And I'm going to say I don't.
I mean, his Pentaveret show is pretty much that energy.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Ooh. So maybe that energy then leads to him finding a way to bring it back for real. And
I think he could muster. I think there could be an appetite for that. I'm not saying me personally, but
sure. But I feel like there's a Duke Nukem-esque funk on the Austin Powers character.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
When you try to bring it obviously the Austin Powers character is a character out of time brought forward, but I feel like bringing it forward again.
Now I get it. Now I get all the Duke Nukem stuff. You just have to contextualize it as Austin Powers. I'm like, oh, cool. I understand.
Like
every now and then I will catch like 20 minutes of one of those movies, and like there's some good jokes there that still work.
Absolutely.
Those movies are all right.
Yeah. I feel like I saw that third one. It was just on every time. And this is, what happens when you live with roommates, I guess, is just like they're watching TV all the time and you're just walking through rooms and it's just like the same 5 movies because, again, I had a roommate who all he did was get high a lot and it seemed like the same TV was on every single time. And I just saw a lot of Goldmember.
Sure.
Just individual scenes of Goldmember, like as I walk through rooms, look over and go like, oh yeah, that's smoking a pancake. That is funny.
Pancake.
And it really burned me out all. I feel like I was pretty neutral to positive on Austin Powers until like that year of it being on Showtime or whatever for every fucking 5 minutes and just catching Goldmember over and over again and just being like, fuck this.
If it was The Spy Who Shagged Me, do you think it would have had the same effect?
I don't know.
Because I feel like Goldmember is the weakest of the trilogy.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is, but it's just a different.
It's a trilogy, right?
Let me tell you,
it's a trilogy.
Sure.
That first one,
it's a pentaveret.
the trilogy. That first movie is 25 years old.
Yo, Elizabeth Hurley in that as a young child.
Ooh. Word.
Oh,
what's up?
Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah.
Freaking Heather Graham in the second one with her cute little bunny teeth.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's no Boogie Nights Heather Graham. If we're
it's adjacent to Boogie Nights. I mean, it's close.
It's no roller
Boogie
girl.
Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Bougie Nights.
I apologize for still talking about Austin Powers in the year 2022, but do you think what is going to come sooner? A remake of Wayne's World, or like not a remake per se, but like it's just those two in right now, or Austin Powers?
Well,
Because
they
Bill and
already
Ted
did.
came back.
Yeah, but they did do Wayne's World shtick like for commercials and stuff, and for
did they?
SNL recently. Yeah,
Oh.
like there was Dana Carvey and Mike Myers did shtick on within the last 4 years. I'm pretty sure they did an SNL bit. They definitely did like an Uber Eats commercial recently.
Okay, yeah.
I think Austin Power, like they've done Dr. Evil stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't think. I think if anything, Austin Powers makes more sense because, like, why would Wayne be 60 and like still have a cable access? Like,
Why would anyone?
He's a YouTuber now. Like, maybe,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Like the whole context for Wayne's
that.
World
I'd watch that.
is.
I'm turned around on it.
You are absolutely right about that being like the first stop on the fucking roadmap. Because if it wasn't for
what do you
Wayne's
mean?
World, I would not have started a public access show.
There you go.
So,
right?
He's gonna have
Wayne
like,
trying to
little...
get views in the algo. Like that's a thing I'd watch. Maybe
he's gonna have the little warning
going like this and telling people to like, follow, and subscribe.
just like hit that button. You know?
He's gonna have like the COVID warning in Spotify. It's like, oh, don't listen to this. You know, you got to be wary while listening to this podcast here.
Oh fuck! That's pretty.
Spotify's gonna make their first movie, and it's gonna be Wayne's World 5 or however many.
Yeah, and it's just going to be like the no stairway joke. That's the only thing they've got. Because it's
what happens first? Either of those two, or a new Back to the Future?
New Back to the Future.
I don't think we see. I think if we see a new Back to the Future, it is a reboot. It is a different cast. It is.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't think Zemeckis would do it.
I don't.
I think someone else would do it.
Yeah.
Would you count some shitty fucking 8-episode thing for some fucking streaming service as being back? Because I think that is possible.
Yeah, but don't forget, that is just as prestige as a feature film in 2022.
Yeah.
I think there's something legally that they need all the parties to do it.
How could it be forever, Jen? There's no way that's forever.
Dies, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can't be forever.
If it's a contract, you can say
they did the cartoon, and they did. Well, I mean, that Telltale game came along years later.
I was meant to check that out. That was positively received. The
game? Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I remember.
I remember people digging it.
Yeah, I didn't spend a ton of time with it because I just
pre like Telltale oversaturation with those style of games.
Yes,
I think it was the beginning of it.
It was like one of them. Yeah, it was definitely like coming.
Okay,
you could see it from there maybe a little bit, but it was a little bit before everything went super sideways for them. But yeah, I don't know. I guess like in the context of like if you think of Back to the Future as being alongside something like a Ghostbusters, and look what they've done with Ghostbusters, then I guess there's a billion different ways to reboot that thing and do something different with it. There's always like some kid finds a DeLorean inside in a barn and it's got a cowboy hat on it, and you know, there's always
I'm just like there's no doubt in my mind we will see that brought back.
If it means the Back to the Future ride comes back to Universal Studios, I'm all in.
They take it out?
They took it out a long time ago.
It's the Simpsons ride now. It's been out for like 8 years or something.
Oh, longer than that, Jessica.
Within a time adjacent thing? That's weird.
It might have been. No, I don't think it came out for when the Simpsons movie came out. Did it? I
It
don't
might
know.
have been actually
But now it's a
around
whole
the same
Simpsons themed area. Moe's Tavern is there.
Okay.
Da da da.
Yeah.
Which is odd now knowing that Disney technically owns
I
the
had-
Simpsons property.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, not exaggerating, the best donut of my fucking life at the Simpsons like food court
I mean,
or
it
whatever.
better be good.
there.
Shit.
It was this big. It was like a foot across.
That's too
Huge
much.
donut,
Mm.
Too much donut.
strawberry with the
Frosting.
frosting was strawberry, and it was huge, and it was like cheap for being like the biggest donut you've seen in your life, right? It's like a donut to share, right?
I'm a glazed boy.
Oh, it was so
No
good.
such thing as a shareable donut.
Oh,
True.
that one. Mm.
If you go halvesies on 2, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's reasonable. But what if instead you just got 4?
There you go.
Well, then yeah, you go. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I feel like that's
Quarter.
the.
I'll go
It was this
quarters with
thick.
you.
It was this thick. It was like 5 inches thick and like
Jesus.
12 inches wide.
Jesus. It's like
Go
a
on.
4 funnel cakes stacked.
And it
Yeah,
was
that's more.
and it was way better than it had any right to be, and it was
I feel
only
like
like
the side
$8.
dough-
Why isn't the center of that thing consistency wise seems like it would be a nightmare?
It was perfect. It was so fresh. It tasted just like a sized up regular really good donut. Like the consistency was perfect. I couldn't believe my taste buds. It was amazing.
You know, summer's around the corner. I'm starting to think about funnel cakes again, everybody. Why is there?
Is this an ad? Did you say like if you're like summer's around the corner, folks, and it's funnel cake season, and
It's
that you know
funnel
what that
cake
means?
season.
Listen
Getting some
closely. You can
bigger
hear the bed.
shorts.
You
With
can hear the
upgrade-
music. You can hear the music bed playing under this.
Yeah.
I also think like I was gonna go into a little rant about like I want a home solution for funnel cakes, but then I was
There's
also
got
at the
to
same
be a
time
better way.
there's got to be, but also at the same time, it's like, yo, maybe you should just leave those exclusively for summer because you are like a human dumpster if you try and do that shit at home.
I
So
think
maybe-
you just need a deep fryer.
Give it
Yeah,
give it
that's what
2
you-
months. We put it out into the world. It's gonna wind up at a Trader Joe's.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as a human dumpster, I'm going to say you probably don't want to do that year round.
No.
But also, speaking as a lazy human dumpster, you don't want to deal with the cleanup of a fucking
Oh,
fryer
God.
and all the fucking shit. Like, it's not worth.
Also,
You do that
like,
once and you go, fuck this. I'm going to
boiling oil is one of the scariest cooking adventures you can go on. Like deep frying stuff.
It's exhilarating.
Hot oil is the scariest shit ever. It catches on fire if it's too hot. It's
I'd put it in the
it's really scary to put out.
It'll burn
You have to
up
know how to
then.
put it out. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna put it in my basement, in like the unfinished part of my basement, where like you just, everyone's got a part in their house where you're like, I don't care what happens here. It's just fucking, it's just like the worst place. It's where all the bugs live. It's where all the bugs live and all like the appliances shit.
Yeah, it's where
and
I
you're
put
like,
my
all
office.
right. You're like, whatever. So I would deep fry shit in that room.
That room sounds more flammable than most rooms
Yeah.
as a result.
I mean, it's all right.
I'm going to pour that hot oil on my foot and then super kick someone with it.
Ah,
And
ugh,
then,
gosh.
Love
then
it.
a bad
Good
time will
idea.
ensue.
Good idea. Bad spot.
Yeah. Fucking bring a fire extinguisher. If you're gonna set your foot on fire in a wrestling ring, bring a fire extinguisher. This is like fucking easy shit.
It's yeah. It's bad heat. It's bad heat.
Dumbass. All right,
Jesus.
let's talk about some video games.
The music is playing.
All right, great. Golf Gang.
Oh man.
Golf Gang. Golf Gang is out on Steam. It's extremely fun.
So good.
The default mode is one where it is a combined race against time and number of strokes. So it kind of averages out your grade based on how fast you can do it in the least number of shots. And it's I've been playing with a mouse. It does have some kind of controller support, but it's like a billiards game. Kind of pull back the mouse to cock it and let off the button to shoot. And it's very fun. It's a fun mini golf game with really good courses. And we played it on the show on Friday and got into the modifiers a little bit. And I think that's where the true genius of it lies. Like there is this kind of like when you are playing competitively, collision is on by default. And so you can knock all the balls around and all that sort of stuff. But you can turn on exploding collisions. You can turn on low gravity. You can turn on the ability to jump, which is then on a cooldown, which just creates a bunch of additional fun chaos.
Yeah.
All that stuff's built in. And then it does have Steam Workshop support. There's 3 or 4 different courses of varying degrees of completion in the workshop right now that I think we're going to check out tomorrow on on Wednesday. We're going to get live and take a look at some golf gang.
Get live.
It's really well made.
Yeah.
It's a really simple. I know they've had some patches around like lobbies and some of the matchmaking stuff maybe being funky. We didn't have any trouble getting in a game when we played on Friday, so I don't know about that. But like the actual playing of that game, super fun. I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, the mechanics they start adding in, even in the later levels, is odd, and it winds up working, which is fun. There's like a gliding mechanic, I believe, in like the 3rd or 4th, like
third. There's a hang glider where you go through a ring and it gives you a hang glider for a set amount of time, so you kind of like have full ball control to glide over to the next area.
Full ball control.
Been after that my whole life.
Yeah.
Full ball control.
It's just a certain amount of support that a guy needs, and with offer code BOMB, you can. Wait, okay. You
can bingo your way.
That's right.
And like, there's a ton of these multiplayer golf games, and you know, some of them are hit or miss. But this one, I think, because of the
hit or miss
of the charging mechanic or whatever, and just how fast paced it increases or wants you to be. It lends itself really, really well to multiplayer.
Yes, yeah, it's a good action golf game. It feels like there's been more and more of those over the last, few years here of people trying to break golf in different ways, and I appreciate the way this one breaks golf for multiplayer.
I'm going to say this: golf might be the best sport to turn into a video game.
If you're willing to let go of the boring real life mechanics, yes,
sure,
the possibilities are endless.
I think even they got too serious. Like all sports video games, they got way too serious and way too real. But like there is that Sega Genesis era PGA Tour golf,
totally,
that is just fucking golf. It's just a dude swinging clubs and stuff, but it's still like a really good, relaxing, and not difficult to understand video game.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point they just added a few too many mechanics and a bunch of. It's too real. Got too real for me. I'm not into it. I haven't seen any windmills. I mean, there's moving pieces on these golf courses, but in the mini golf pantheon, I feel like you need an actual windmill in there somewhere to really bring it home.
Yeah,
windmill's the final boss.
Yeah.
The other thing they're missing is like a little track that the ball would go through, to follow. It's like you put it into something, and then it's just supposed to oh, where are we going with it?
That'd be good. That'd be good. And yeah, I don't know. The whole thing has kind of a monkey ball-esque quality to it as well, I think. Just, because it is vaguely chaotic.
I've always said that about you.
Yeah. Vaguely monkey ball-esque, vaguely chaotic.
The control stuff, I feel like I want to be able to like successfully do something locally with 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know if that's going to be a thing.
How could you?
Yeah, exactly.
Two mice connected to one computer, or a LAN situation or something.
I mean, I think if you got into the controller aspect of it, because it does play with the gamepad if you want to, then it's as easy as doing split screen. But
yeah, so for whatever reason, it wasn't enjoying my gamepad, but that could just be a one-off. But yeah, it's just the right kind of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fun. If you got people you play video games with, that might be one worth playing with them, I guess. Let's see. I also got into the closed alpha for Multiversus, which is the Warner Brothers platform fighter.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Yes, Multiversus.
I see.
Who's the early main? Who is the Ryu, or I guess who is the Mario of this game?
I've only played a few.
I've heard it's Taz.
Okay.
I've heard Taz is too OP.
Okay.
And Finn has a very good like down B move or something
Is
like
Finn the dog or is Finn the kid?
that.
Finn
The
is
kid.
a kid.
Okay, I played as the dog and
That's
Jake and thought he was pretty good too. But I don't know. They are, at some point, like hey, they're making a Smash Brothers game, and I feel like we have spent a good long time talking about how those are a fucking pox upon society and so on and so forth. I don't know. This is this game, I will say, seems like better than I initially expected, having seen some gameplay a month or so ago and spending some time looking at it and going like, this looks fucking abysmal. And even through the tutorial where they have you play as Wonder Woman and Shaggy, there was something about the movement with those two characters that I felt fucking terrible. Just too flitty, too light, just skittery in a way that just like the characters had no weight to them or anything, and just the analog stick movement was just ramped up to full speed very quickly. Like Dead Zone stuff just felt really odd to me. And so at first I was like, this seems shitty, and then I started switching characters up and trying some different stuff, and as soon as I got a Jake, I'm told his name is Jake, I was like, okay, the movement here seems a little bit better. This seems a little bit more in line. This seems like a little better, and I started having a bit more fun with it. They are trying to have a 2v2 team focus for the game, so they've got abilities that play into that.
That is such an odd choice.
I think you gotta carve out something, right? Because otherwise you're just making Smash Brothers or Brawlhalla or whatever, like every other game does that already. So at least they do have the option for 1v1, so it's not like they're dissuading you from doing that. And I think it's on them to make those abilities things that, like, if you're not playing co-op, are then useful. So like Wonder Woman has a lasso that will grab enemies and pull them over to get hit, but will also grab allies so you can pull them out of danger.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
So there is an idea. There's another character, there's like a big fucking dog, a big floppy, like
Clifford?
a big. No, it's not Clifford. I wish.
Marmaduke?
No, it's not. It's nothing I had heard of.
Scooby-Doo?
So, that's the one. Scooby-Doo. Who's that guy? No, I don't know. I have to.
It wasn't Droopy Dog, was it?
Rain Dog? Is that a
Rain
thing?
Dog?
Oh, that was a character made for the game, right?
That's a character originally made for the game. So I guess that's why I didn't recognize.
Which is weird.
And so I believe Rain Dog has it's like the lasso, except it's a beam you attach to the other player. And then when they're attached, they can just go fucking crazy and jump off the edge to try to knock someone off, knowing that you, the dog, can pull them back and save them from dying.
It's half reindeer, half dog, right?
Rain Dog.
Rain Dog. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like Mortal Kombat's Rain, but you're a good friend of his. And you go, what up, Rain Dog?
Yeah, he can't like control the weather.
No, as far as I know. But so like that's an interesting idea, right? Because it then lets you play like way crazier if you're attached to Rain Dog.
Oh, he's kind of cute. Look at him.
He's very cute. Got a cool beard.
You could be like a support player, kind of.
Yeah, they actually do flag a couple of characters as supports.
Oh.
So they're kind of like, I think, trying to accommodate that conceptually, and it's a neat idea. But I don't know that I'm never going to get into that game deep enough to care about the 2v2 team comp stuff or any of that shit. So it's all probably kind of lost on me. Netcode seems okay for what you'd want. I only played a couple of matches and they were fine.
I gotta ask, are the characters like verbally emoting and everything? Yeah,
it's not like that Nickelodeon game. Like there's a lot more speech. Like the characters, for better or worse, are a lot more lively than they were in that game. I think I'm just like, there's a part of me that is just like somehow I'm morally opposed to this Ultra Instinct Shaggy thing that came up and that they have then tried to capitalize on years later.
Is Big Chungus in this game?
Bugs Bunny is, and I'm gonna say maybe. I don't know.
Is his like ultimate move being Big Chungus? If they're gonna like go in on this meme stuff.
Who knows?
Who knows? I don't actually have the answer to that question. I tried Bugs Bunny and was like, he does not. I don't like the way he plays. So, But yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, Velma's in it and loses her glasses, and you know, like they are trying to capitalize on what those characters are known for in ways that, you know, seem authentic for whatever that's worth. Except for like again, like there's just, you just hold down a button and Shaggy just fucking goes Super Saiyan and seems to do more damage for a period of time. And I just, also yes, Arya Stark is in it.
What?
Whoa.
Oh,
You know, the Warner Brothers
That appropriate?
character. So it's like a cartoony version of this Game of Thrones character. It's fucking bizarre.
Is she like a Link sort of shadow fighter?
I didn't play.
Weird. That is weird.
When does Gumby get his own spotlight in a fighting game? Yeah.
When Fox launches their NFT fighting game.
Oh God, counting down the days.
Yeah, they'll figure out a way to get Gumby
Clay
out
fighters.
there again.
Yeah.
So sure. Who owns all the Interplay IP? We can bring back Clay Fighter. We can finally get Gumby in it instead of a character who looks just like a bootleg Gumby.
The crossover of the century.
Yeah, finally, Ichabod Clay and Gumby
Versus
and
the
then Pokey.
Blockheads. Yep.
Yeah, the 2v2 Blockheads versus Gumby and Prickle.
Oh, Prickle was who?
Prickle was the dinosaur-looking
yellow.
guy.
Oh, right. And then Pokey was the
horse.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been watching Gumby recently, and I gotta recommend it. It's a time.
It's the right kind of clay horror that you need.
It was on Nickelodeon for a lot of years.
Forever.
When I was probably a little too old to be watching fucking Gumby, but I sure did watch the fuckload of Gumby then. And like, what the fuck is this?
It's so weird.
That's why I hate claymation.
I also love how Pokey's like such a coward. He'll just like peace out of episodes sometimes. Be like, never mind.
Or just eyes bugs out of his head and then just bolts. And they're like, we didn't want to animate him shivering in the background, so we just had him leave.
Skitters around like a cat. The weird idiot.
Gumby is good. Multiversus, I don't know. Like I said, you know, from seeing stuff on it for a little while now, it seemed like a potentially extremely bad game. And playing it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. Yeah, I don't think it's for me. But also, it is like rotten with battle pass stuff, and you as you level up characters, you're unlocking perks for them that are just straight up like, oh, if you have this perk equipped, you do 8% more damage on your horizontal attacks. And stuff like that. That's just like weird percentages type stuff that Mortal Kombat did something like that with, or Injustice did it with some of their gear system stuff in ways that were just kind of like annoying. But it was always kind of disabled in ranked, or you didn't really use it as much in ranked, if I remember right.
I think I'm morbidly curious to see if this winds up occupying space in the competitive scene, and just seeing how it's going to be done, whether or not people will have like people they team up with exclusively, right? Those types of team comps, or if it's just going to wind up being a solo game like how Smash has become.
Yeah.
Or Smash is, sorry.
Yeah, that'll... I'll be curious to see if they end up doing TV. I think some of that ends up being up to Warner, because they are trying to buy their... I mean, they're like funding pots at Evo, and like they're basically trying to make this a thing, and they're trying to spend a little money to get it placed in various tournament settings and all this other stuff. So for whatever that's worth, like they're willing to put up through the money to try to buy their way into having a community. But we'll see. You know, that only takes you so far. The game has to be good.
Yeah. But the Succession characters in this then.
Sure. There was a larger leak, like this build I don't think has all the characters in it. There was some talk that like Scorpion and Sub-Zero would show up in here eventually, and you know, Warner has a lot of characters right up until they sell them all off. If they end up starting to sell studios, then maybe that gets a little strange, but
Animaniacs, when?
Sure, that would be yeah. I mean, it's like at some point it's just like who was in the Space Jam thing. Who was in Space Jam 2? Yeah, exactly. like just go all in with every single thing that was in that. Here's Neo. Here's like they're already. I feel like by throwing the Game of Thrones character in there, I think that's like a boundary being crossed in terms of just like their willingness to just say fuck it. We will We will draw cartoon versions of real humans. We will throw fucking whoever the fuck we got in this thing.
I love
It's on.
Sebmel's suggestion, Freakazoid.
They're never going to do it. They're never going to do it. They'll do it, and it's going to break your heart. So
when are we rebooting Freakazoid, by the way?
No,
Going back to the reboot chat.
No, just remaster it, and then just leave it alone.
Freakazoid.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't bring back Freakazoid. It's not going to work.
That's
not popular. Yeah.
That would be.
I love Freakazoid.
That would be bad for a lot of reasons, I think. Let's see. Jan, you've been playing some Elechead. This came out a little while ago.
Yeah. It was on one of those indie Switch streams, so I thought instead of waiting for it to come out on the Switch, I'm just going to play it now because I have a personal computer. It's one of those puzzle platformers where you are a little chibi robo-esque character where whichever surfaces you end up touching, whether standing on or wall sliding on, you are electrifying that surface, and that will occasionally change up the environment. So platforms will move, stuff will start shooting out at you, and that ties into the whole puzzle platforming aspect of it. This is one of those games, just like VVVVVV, where I just want to try and break it in such a way where I just need something to just like zhuzh itself over. And it's like, come on, just move, and then I'll solve this damn puzzle. But it doesn't do that. It plays really strictly with its rules. You eventually get the ability to shoot your head off to electrify other stuff while you're moving the body around and everything. And then I wound up beating it. And then I looked at the collectibles, and it turns out I technically haven't really beat it. I've completed these levels, but I've only wound up finding 2 of these little special remotes. So I may invest more time in it. I do like when you reach a dead end, you have to illuminate a television set or a screen, and it's just a big picture of poop.
This sounds like Gex.
It is nothing like Gex.
This is Gex. You're just describing Gex to me. I'm sorry, Jan.
Your Gex radar went off? I don't
Electric
understand.
Gex. Just not every game with a television in it is Gex.
Says you.
Silent Hill, is that Gex? There's TVs in that.
It's a little bit Gex.
Bug 2 is more Gex than most things, honestly.
Yeah, it's a neat little platformer. If you were in the mood for it, it did come out. Gosh, was it? I think it was technically 2021. I want to say.
It was a while ago. But a cool idea with the whole like powering up platforms to walk on other platforms, and the kind of logic behind the electricity stuff is pretty neat. For sure.
God, just looking at the little character guy move around just reminded me of Chibi Robo so much that I just need more Chibi. I think we all need some Chibi Robo in our lives, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
What about Jumbo Robo, huh?
Primo Robo.
Yeah, all right. I want to get some primos with Jumbo Robo.
Give it to me.
All right. You're also playing V Rising.
Oh my God.
What is the V? What is the V in V Rising?
Vampires are back, y'all.
Fuck this.
Did they ever go away?
That's why Redfall got delayed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. V Rising came out, and they're like, "Oh, we got to get out of the way of this."
Oh,
the 2 vampire properties I'm down with. Vampire Survivors.
Morbius, and what's the other one?
Oh God, it's not. It is never going to be Morbin time. And Blade. I think we can all agree we're all down with Blade.
We are all down with Blade.
Yep.
always.
1, 2 Trinity.
Yes.
Yep. Great.
Yeah.
Triple H is not. He's great in that movie for him. You know.
Yes.
He is hilarious in that movie.
Yeah. V Rising is like the biggest bait and switch that I've ever seen. And I know that's a bold statement, and I'm going to stand by it, because when you look at the trailers, it looks like, oh, this is like a vampire Diablo. I could kind of get into that. And it is nothing like that. It is basic. The V should just be Valheim, because it is a survival crafting based joint where you are chopping down trees as a vampire, mining stones, plant fibers. and sucking dudes off. Their blood. And then you're crafting and building little bases and everything.
Can you suck off dudes in your base?
You can lure them in, and you could definitely lure them in. And I don't know. I wish it was not that, because I'm kind of in the mood for a Diablo-like type of experience. And then I feel like I've just really kind of been burnt out on the whole crafting system, because it went super deep into something like Valheim. They do encourage this being like a multiplayer experience.
Yeah.
And I can quickly see this being fun with other folks, and you're building a base and everything. Like when we were checking out Valheim for a while. But playing this single player, just like playing Valheim single player, can kind of, I don't want to say miserable, but just be a tougher trudge playing it and everything. Because then everything takes so much more resources and whatnot. And you build your base and you got to put blood crystals in it and everything. You have the option to make a PvE world or a PvP world. I believe the multiplayer does go up to, I want to say 8 or 10. But I don't know. But
if you're building bases, so is that the idea that like you're going to play PvP with the same group of people for like months because you build your base on a server, I assume?
Yes.
So, all right.
Yes, you could set it that where it's open to the public, so folks could just pop in. Or you get password protected, so folks, it's just friendlies or people you at least know. I guess it's up to 40 people. Never mind. That sounds insane. The combat in it is not the best. I've only spent about 3-4 hours into it. I have my little rinky-dink base with like a coffin. I just think it's an odd premise because your vampire peeps obey laws of the vampires, I guess. So it's hard to go out in the daytime because you start taking hits and everything. Yeah. Just like in Valheim, there are random giant enemies that will spawn throughout the world and mess up your stuff and chase you into your base. I don't know. I think maybe just the presentation of it, just being isometric Diablo style, kind of takes away from the wonder that you would experience in Valheim.
Right. Yeah.
It's like Valheim, it's like the scale is super different. So those giants actually feel like giants, versus here you can actually see the draw distance is pretty far with like the camera. So you can see what's popping up from pretty far away. And it's like, well, that would have been surprising, but I saw you like 2 minutes ago while I'm chopping down this tree.
Stay away from that area. Yeah, I feel like Valheim was pretty good in terms of just like some shit came out of the forest that you were not prepared to deal with. Yeah. You're like, oh fuck, I didn't think this was in here. I gotta go. Like those were some pretty fun moments.
It is a lot easier to build stuff in this versus Valheim because of the nature of like the camera angle and everything.
Yeah.
Because that was my biggest problem with Valheim is just it's impossible to build stuff precisely sometimes.
It's like you get a hang of it. And now I feel like if I went back to Valheim now, it's been, I don't know, 8 months or something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how to do any of that anymore. Mm-hmm. I would have to relearn all of it all over again. And nah, I'm good.
Yeah. I didn't explore it too much, but there is a mechanic with, depending on the type of like random civilians you wind up drawing blood from, you change your blood type and you are balancing like a blood meter and sacrificing that to your blood altar that you keep in your house. Mm-hmm. I'll invest more time at it. I know Rory is also playing it and having a similar experience to me, but like kind of just wish it was just more mindless loot gathering than building as a vampire. It's also wearing the vampire motif very, very seriously. Not like in a fun way. It's like, haha, we're vampires. It's like, oh, we're vampires.
Okay. Nothing worse than a self-serious vampire.
Self-serious suckers out here.
Yeah.
Making it happen in the streets. I don't know that I have a lot of patience for like that style of vampire lore. I don't know that I ever did, honestly, but like that's
man,
me.
What We Do in the Shadows has done for vampires, let me just tell you. Like vampire PR has never been more positive. and they owe it all to that show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Steven Dorff, I feel like did a good job for vampires and in Blade.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just been so long. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, they need a new something or other.
Not discounting that
New blood.
that moment, but now, I mean,
I feel like Underworld kind of killed the momentum
Yeah.
of vampires.
Yes.
And lichens.
Hey, look, I love Underworld.
Yep.
First one.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Got to specify the whole franchise. I mean, let's go through it.
sure. The evanescence of vampire movies.
Yes,
But
they've got one good song.
Is Morbius gonna re-kill the vampire, fervor again?
I feel like it's quickly working its way into like,
or is it
meme
so
economy.
mimetic that no one's gonna? It's going to.
I think it will have zero effect on
Mm.
anything long term. It's just like people are going to goof on it, and most of them will goof on it without having seen it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And someday we will all forget about Morbius.
Yeah, but
And
I am waiting.
I don't have an example on the tip of my tongue, but like there are certain things that get thrusted. They fumble and they are just like clumsy success stories where they stumble to the top. Jan,
Man,
present company excluded.
Don't point to yourself.
But also like, I don't know. I feel like Morbius might have that energy where it's like, this shit's so dumb and bad, we got to make another one, because it's almost like people just have to see how bad it is.
They didn't do it to the Mummy remake.
Well,
They didn't make a sequel to that, and that was a real big stinker. That was really funny to watch.
I still have hopes that the Dark Cinematic Universe will thrive.
Okay.
yeah, that's
It
jury's
is
still out on
good.
that one. We'll see.
Let me just say, like, just for like the balance of all things, it is good that we're getting a couple stinkers here now, right? Like, just to create that balance that popular entertainment so desperately needs.
Mhm.
Like, you
What was
have
the last stinker? Cats?
Well, I'm
there's
talking
been
about
tons.
comic book movies.
Oh,
but
comic
yeah.
book stinkers.
But like,
Mhm.
it's good. Like a comic book stinker is good. Like not all fats are bad. Not all calories are bad calories. Like this is that sort of analogy, if you will. Like we need this for the balance.
Yeah, someone needs to like look at a chart and go like, oh, we can't just throw any
Exactly.
fucking goddamn thing out there. We have to care about equality to a certain extent.
turns
But
out.
Puts another set of guardrails on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
V Rising,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I wound up liking Valheim a bit more, mostly because it just didn't take itself too seriously in the setting. I don't think I can get behind the vampire stuff. If anything, it made me want to download Dragon Quest Builders 2.
sure,
Okay.
now you're gaming.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Just because, like, if I want to do a survival-based building type of sim or whatever, I don't think I want it under the lens and guise of vampires or whatever. I'd rather it be like cutesy wootsy, like, oh cool, there's a slime guy.
Yeah,
And these guys kind of look like little Gokus.
totally. The thing though is I think Valheim, I think a lot of Valheim's comedy or whatever comes from the nature of the game itself, because I feel like the lore itself is like super like, look at our fucking fonts, the Scream Viking fonts, and look at this fucking like that. I think that game takes itself a little too seriously for my tastes.
Yeah,
too,
I guess
but,
I'm probably misremembering my memories with it.
well, it's like the game itself is fucking comedy, because it's like, oh, I'm doing a corpse run and I'm running. A skeleton is now running after me and I'm running in a circle for 20 minutes. Just fuck this.
Yeah.
But it's like ridiculous. Like the gameplay there definitely has some silly aspects to it for sure.
Right, because all the boss fights were super serious.
Yeah, there was definitely an aspect of just like, okay, are we fucking like, do we have the right shout or whatever enabled? We have the right thing here to go do this and do that, and do we have the right stuff? And we need more of these, and we got to get on this boat and go here and do this. And there's definitely like like that game's an ordeal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're taking that game seriously, it's like, okay, fucking strap in, we're gonna go do this, and then eventually you, I think, figure it out and you can play it a lot more loose. But I know in that the early goings for Valheim, it was a lot of just like, all right, I don't want to do this again. So let's make sure that we fucking get it right and get out here and make it happen. And yeah, I don't know. I wonder. I don't know. I bet they've added a billion things to that game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm just missing like the wonder aspect in V Rising that I felt in
Rising.
Yeah, Rising.
That's a VR game. Cool. Wait.
Give me a vampire VR game.
Yeah. Suck off dudes in first person.
Let me at them.
That's right.
Let me at those dudes.
I think that's just VR chat.
Oh.
Apex Legends Mobile came out. I have played a little bit of that. It is apparently doing quite well in terms of downloads and all that sort of stuff. It's I'm playing with a controller.
Okay.
I'm continuing to play it with a controller. I don't ever want to play any kind of shooter, anything on the touch screen. Like, I get that like it works and they've figured out sorts of ways to be like, it automatically shoots when there's a guy in the reticle. You just got to aim good. And I like some of the different ways they try to make those controls work more easily for a wider variety of players, but I just don't want to fucking play a game that way.
It's so wild watching younger kids that are only acclimated to playing touchscreen Fortnite just go at it, because it's wild.
Yeah, it's fucking scary. Yeah, no, I could never. Yeah, no. And so I opted not to in this, and tethered a PlayStation 5 controller to my phone. And even then, though, and I feel like Call of Duty was the same way. This is actually better in terms of just like how the shooting feels and stuff. It feels a lot more in line with what you expect out of Apex. Call of Duty Mobile, I remember once I wired up a controller, it was still floaty and shitty in a way that it felt like a mobile game, touchscreen style aiming, and not like, oh, when I hook up a controller, it becomes proper Call of Duty or whatever. Apex feels a lot more in line with like, when I hook up this controller, it plays the way I expect Apex to play. Cool. Dr. Sunchips in chat says someone here needs to try the backbone. If they make a backbone that works without me having to take my fucking case off every time I want to fucking hook the controller up, maybe I would.
Yeah.
What a piece of trash. Like, what a dumb, like, oh, hang on, I want to play a video game. Let me crank my case off and then hook this thing up. Yeah. And oh, wait, the bus is here. I gotta go. Like, it's the dumbest shit.
Yeah, I bought I think I mentioned this in UPF or whatever, but I bought like a Razer Kishi.
Yeah.
And the biggest drawback with that thing, it works well, but the biggest drawback is like, I gotta take my case off.
Yeah, dude. Like, who's gonna do? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. At least make the controller should be part of a case. Be like, okay, this comes with a case that you can keep on your phone permanently, and then this controller works with this case, and have it be a very smallish, normalish kind of case or whatever. Like, I think that would make sense. Anyway. It is hard to look at your inventory and stuff on a small ass phone screen, even though they have made those screens bigger over the years. I definitely was like, I should play this on my iPad instead. And then I was like, I should just go play real Apex Legends if I want a big screen. What the fuck am I doing? But yeah, I don't know. It's a whole new progression, and so it's like your stuff doesn't carry over. It's not like all your unlocks. It is a different like, it does not have as many of the characters in it currently. And it has the original map. Like, it has some aspects of the later seasons of Apex, like, what are they, fabricators, like some of the other stuff that you can find that is kind of after I stopped playing a lot of Apex, so I'm not super familiar with all of it, but it controlled pretty well. And in the first couple of matches, which are the matches where you have a fucking bunch of bots in it and stuff, I'm sure, like any proper battle royale game, the shooting feels fine on a controller and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know, if you are the sort of person that wants to play a mobile shooter, which again, is a lot of like, okay, am I going to be on the road doing a thing? Because if I'm sitting here in front of all this,
I know it's silly.
I don't really need that. But
also, like, I don't know. You're not. I feel like the last time I gotten really engaged, and I know this is going to like overlap with what it's like playing the Switch for extended periods of time, but like, fucks your neck up. Like, you can't. I know this is in general, but like, my kid was playing the Rocket League mobile game, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
It controls well, and I think it's I think it's also a very interesting, like, different dimension for mobile where it's like this was really thought out in a clever way, and that's sort of great. But I don't know, like, you just get like neck chin and you just sort of turn into jelly a little bit. And I realize you can have that happen when you play Switch, but not so much because you could also like position the screen away and make your life a little more comfortable. But I can't see anyone really, snuggling up for an extended period of time playing a shooter. I know that's maybe some old man shit, but
it might be old man stuff. Honestly,
it could be old man shit.
Kids'
in the future, we
necks
won't
don't
have
break
necks,
like that.
so,
Yeah,
we won't have necks in the future.
We won't need
so.
them.
Think about
makes
how
sense.
many parents are playing Apex Legends mobile while they're waiting for their children now. Like that could be a market for this.
Dozens,
Sure. Yeah.
upon dozens.
Dozens, 3 dozens perhaps. So you're not playing. There's no cross-platform then.
No. This is a different game.
See, now I might be enticed to do it because I wouldn't want to play against anyone on PC.
No, you totally would not, right? Like that'd be a terrible experience. And I hope they don't get to a point where they're like, we've decided to merge all the player bases or whatever. But like, yeah, there is an aspect of just like, hey, also like, and I'm sure this is like I bet the people playing with touchscreen have gotten really good at aiming and shooting in a way that like but in my head, this is like a Quake 3 for Dreamcast situation of I bought the mouse and keyboard for the Dreamcast and the broadband adapter and was able to murder everyone. There's a part of me that's just like, I'm going to hook up this controller and fucking murder everyone because fuck a touchscreen. And I wonder how that will work out. Probably not. I bet the people with the touchscreen probably aim fine and will probably fucking smoke.
It's like people that use the gyroscope in Splatoon. Like
exactly,
folks just swear by it and are insane with it.
Or like the flick stick stuff. And
no, I can't.
Like, there's yes. You want to talk about a generational shift in video gaming? It's probably that, right? It's probably the like, I'm going to use flick stick in Fortnite on a controller or whatever, and I'm going to look at that and go like, none of that makes any fucking sense to me, and it looks abysmal to play.
What's the Battle Pass Stitch looking like?
It's got one.
Okay.
It also like Call of Duty Mobile, it feels like it is popping up 5 different things of just like, we're having a launch event, and then also here's the Battle Pass, and then also here's this event happening over here, and then click here to claim this, and then click here to claim this, and then load this up, and hey, there's a little news circle next to this, so you should probably click on that and see what the fuck is there. And you look at it and go like, I don't know what's here. Is there something for me to claim? Is it more skins? Is it more like fucking free currency? What am I even looking at? Like, there's a certain aspect of it that like is underexplained as someone who has never played a ton of a mobile shooter or anything like that. It's always like, and Call of Duty got really rotten with that stuff where I, checked it out probably a year after it came out, and I was like, it's just throwing 9 different ads for 9 different things at me, and it's like, it's a good zombie gun skins, and here's one that looks like a fire hydrant, and you could fuck this one. And like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at past a certain point. And Apex, it seems like it's like already kind of in that direction a little bit, where it's like, here's our launch week bonus thing, and then you get this currency to unlock fade points or whatever. I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at. So I don't know. I feel like all those games need some kind of pass to make that shit understandable to normal people, because I'm sure if you play a bunch of it, you're like, oh well, this is this and whatever. It's not that actually that difficult. But like coming in launch day or day 2 of it being out and having it bombard me with that stuff, I'm just like, I don't even know what the fuck any of this is. What the fuck is this stuff?
Is there a solo mode at all, or is it still 3-man squads? Because that
it was 3-man squads when I played it. There was a handful of different modes, but I don't think there was a solo mode in there. But I'm sure they'll roll it in and out. That's what everyone's always changing things up now.
Well, I'm downloading it now.
Yeah, it's neat. It's worth checking out. I would just personally, I'm only playing it, or I only still have it installed because it has decent controller support. Is anyone else playing Rogue Legacy 2?
I beat the first boss, and then I kind of took a pause on it.
Why, something happened?
I am like the second area, and I've almost beat the big giant double skeleton boss of that second area. It's not that hard of a fight, but the area that you get through to get it, I hate it. I just hate it.
Plants, right? Or
it's way more linear. It's like you're at the docks, so there's water down below, and you're kind of kicking your way off. But it is like run to the right to get to this boss fight. It's not like here's this maze of rooms and all that stuff that I feel like is my favorite stuff from Rogue Legacy. And I get the impression that it gets back into that and stuff, but like it's killing my desire to have more than one run at a time. So like I will load it up and be like, all right, here we go. And I've unlocked teleporters so I can warp, halfway through that zone that I hate so much, and then get there and be like, okay, all right, get here and go do it and get to this boss fight and get very close to beating it and lose and just go like, that boss fight's not that hard. I can just need to do one more shot of it. And then I think about what it would take to do that and go, I don't want to fucking do it now. And so I walk away from it. And then when I come back later, I still need to have that warm-up run. And I just keep having warm-up runs and then never going back to do it for real. And I get like that game seems fucking cool. I know people are talking about you can jump past that area and unlock the boss or whatever, but there's stuff you want to beat that boss to open stuff up and just have it be done. And so that's not really a great solution. And I feel like I am being, I don't know. I'm not having fun with this part of the game. And it really seems like the other areas from what you can see of them, because they, a lot of the other areas that you have access to are like, hey, you can't get through here without this special ability. You need this to do this. You need this to do this. You can't really get too far into them. So this feels like hey, this is the thing you have to do to really proceed, and you can cheese your way around it if you want to like fuck around and go a little further. But like I am thinking about turning on the house rules kind of like adjustment cheat type stuff just to blaze past this part of it once and for all, because I just don't want to fucking do it anymore. It's sad because I am really loving everything else about that game, but being forced down this path over and over again. It's just like, I just don't want to fucking do this. And it's really bumming me out, but that game still seems cool. So
I zoned in and beat that first boss with a hot chef character.
Yeah.
And then like, I think I had one too many warm-up runs rather than just walking down the castle to just make a beeline for it. And God, I think I just hit the fatigue really, really quickly because I was really hot on the game when I guess when it officially came out. But geez, I think I probably should just turn on house rules and maybe turn off some of the different modifiers, because I'll be like, man, this character would be really good if I wasn't upside down.
Right. Yeah. Like this is pointless, or this is like, here's a funny joke, and I'm not going to play this way to get the 25% or whatever the gold bonus is. Just like, forget it. Yeah, I don't know. And Jess, you've still been putting some time into Chrono Trigger. Still good?
That's still good. This game's funnier than I thought it would be, honestly. There's a lot of like really charming, funny moments in it. I love that there's a guy who's also a motorcycle. His name is Johnny, and you have to race him to fast travel somewhere. And if you fuck up, you have to do it again. It's like, but I raced all the way there. Why am I back here? He's hilarious. I just recently got the time traveling ship thing, so I thought I was going to fight the final boss, and like apparently you can just like go to 1999 and fight the final boss here, but like good luck is what my partner said. Like you could, but it's not gonna work out. So like there's tons of other plot things happening, but you could just skip to the final boss, and it's like that's pretty wild. I didn't think they'd let me do that, so it's still really surprising. I'm still really interested what's going on. Yes, the ship is called the Epoch, and I renamed it. I was gonna name it High Wind to troll Jan and also my partner. But I renamed it Epoch, but I spelled it like Tupac.
Oh,
so
that's
how my naming convention is going.
Got it
right now.
Cape backwards.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah,
cool.
And the rest of the time I've been playing some game I can't talk about, but there's gonna be an unfinished coming out about it this week. So look forward to it.
Sweet.
All right.
Up in those hot teases.
Ooh. All right. Well, why don't we take a break? We'll come back and we'll get into the news.
I'd love
All
to.
right.
Cool. This podcast is sponsored in part by BetterHelp. Life can be overwhelming, and many people are getting burned out without even knowing it. Symptoms of burnout, what are they? Lack of motivation, feeling helpless or trapped, detachment, fatigue, and more. There's a lot of, it's nice to see this, to just read the symptoms. We talk a lot about burnout these days, but it doesn't, we don't often break it down into like, well, what does burnout actually feel like? It's not just work. We associate burnout with work, but it's really not the only cause. Any of the things we have going on in life can lead to us feeling burned out. And BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself, because talking with someone can help you figure out what's causing stress in your life. What is BetterHelp? That's a great question. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It can be much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. You can get 10% off your first month right now at betterhelp.com/bombcast. That's betterhelp.com/bombcast. Do you need clothes to wear? Many of us do. Many of us wear clothes every day. What are you wearing them for? Are you going to a wedding? Do you need like wedding clothes or just something that looks nice? Like, do you need something that fits? Do you need like a suit or a shirt or a dinner jacket? Pair of pants? What are you looking for? Indochino has a lot of those things, and it's all can be custom fitted to fit you. With a custom fitted suit from Indochino, you look great, you'll feel confident, and enjoy your big day without fussing over your clothes. Now, how does this work? Indochino wants your measurements, and they'll get these in a few different ways. You can get them yourself if you happen to be equipped with, the type of tape measure that you can use to, wrap around your neck. Hey, I don't know what you're into. Wrap it around your neck. Go ahead. Your shoulders, they want to take some measurements, and you can take those yourself with a friend. They have a video on the site that you can look at that's like, oh, okay, here's how I measure this stuff. If you don't have a tape measure, they have a showroom. You can book an appointment and go in, and they'll take your measurements and all that sort of stuff. Then you go online, you punch in all those details, you buy some stuff, they take some time to figure it out, and they create a suit that fits you and your style perfectly. They've got options for fabrics, lapel shape, custom monograms, statement linings, and more. These suits start from just $429, and shirts start at just $79. Indochino also offers complete custom-fitted shirts, casual wear, and more, so you can get a wardrobe personalized to your specific fit without spending a fortune. They're always adding all kinds of new stuff and options, so you can kind of stay in style, all that sort of stuff. Explore their relaxed yet refined approach to spring suits with their new spring pastels. So, if you've got a big day coming up, getting the perfect look is no big deal with Indochino. Get $50 off any purchase of $399 or more by using the promo code BOMB at Indochino.com. That's $50 off a purchase of $399 or more at Indochino.com. Promo code BOMB. All right, we're back, and now it is time to get into the news. Hooray! Headlines from around the world of video games. A little bit of a slow one this week. Everyone's getting ready to show. Like, June is literally around the corner.
Oh,
it is
totally.
Don't say that.
Yeah. So like we are.
Corner is 8 days. Yes.
Yeah, we are 2 weeks away from video game announcements starting to happen in earnest, and so as a result, there's, there's some stuff going on.
What if nothing happens? Right? What if it's like, guys, you know what? These games, nah, it's not happening. Everything's delayed.
It's starting to feel that way.
Yeah, it feels real. Feels like a plausible thing.
I meant that as a goof, but damn.
Yeah, no, this is that was there's Keely's been out there because he's been the headmaster, the head wrangler for a lot of this stuff for a few years now, and now with the pesky ESA out of his way, he's more or less running unopposed. And he was out there over the weekend, I think, saying like, hey, there's going to be less stuff. Like a lot of the publishers last year who thought that they needed to run a show realized that they don't have enough games to fill a half hour. And so, you'll see those games show up on whether it's like a Microsoft type thing, or Keely's got his own show, or I think IGN has their own show. Future has the thing that they always do, their PC show.
Oh, okay.
That I got a press release for it that was just like, it was more about the debit card that was sponsoring their show than about their show.
Oh boy. Okay.
And I was like, that's super weird, but also congratulations on getting a sponsor. That's nice. Sponsored. Oh, crazy. And some of that other stuff. So yeah, I don't know. There'll be places for games to turn up from publishers that don't feel like that they want to dedicate time to running their own show, I guess is the point. But yeah, we're going to start getting that in a little bit here, and stuff will happen. I presume, I mean, with the delay and everything, we will, this is more like getting closer to 3 weeks away, a little under, but like Microsoft is going to have to show Starfield, even though they just delayed it. Like, presumably they had a presentation in the works, regardless of whether that game was getting delayed or not. So they'll probably do something on that thing. People seem to want to see more of that. It keeps screenshots of it keep leaking out, but I don't know. So we'll probably see that.
Don't know what they would show.
Stars, spaceships.
Look, half of it they don't have to render. It's just black.
Exactly.
Right? So,
yeah. And they finally found a way to have an acceptable frame rate on a console version of one of their games.
Like, what if all that was just black?
Oh,
I love it.
Right?
Could it sometimes be like a bluish?
Sure, you could go there.
Okay.
More black. You could go where there's more black.
Great.
Go for it.
That doesn't really seem like a star field. Seems like just a void.
The void is what's between the stars.
Exactly. Come on. I thought
that's why they call it space, Jan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Space.
Have you heard? Okay. Hey, Jan. Turns out space is pretty big.
Yeah.
Okay. Turns out. Sorry, bud.
Wow. I just felt so small.
Yeah. Totally.
Damn. Instead of the Milky Way, what if we called it the Funnel Cake Galaxy?
Ooh, what is this, a Katamari game? Hell yeah.
Delicious.
God, now I just want to walk for miles.
I feel like the naming rights of the galaxy should be up for bidding in a couple of years here. Milky Way's held it for a really long time, and no one likes that. It's the worst candy bar. Well, it's the second worst. It's no Mounds, it's no Almond Joy, but it's down there.
It's D tier. I'd agree for sure. But yeah, I can't wait to visit the Boring Company Galaxy.
That's you want to find a way to get me on a spaceship out of here. That would do it. Just put me on here. I don't care if I die before I get out of the galaxy. Just fucking assure me that at some point my remains will not be here with these fucking dipshits.
That's the right way to go. That's the right way to go.
Norman Reedus.
Like having your remains frozen and thrown into space. So that some lands on some alien planet billions of years from now, and they just sort of like worship your frozen corpse.
Or they take it as an act of war and go like, whoever the fuck sent this here, we're going to go blow them up.
Yeah.
You exclaiming Norman Reedus sounds like a new way to not say like, Jesus Christ.
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus.
What kind of trouble is that Joker getting himself into again?
I don't know. He's a motorcycle man.
Loose lips with Norman Reedus.
Yeah, he's this is not the first time that he has basically said this, but he did an interview with a publication called Leo, where he claims that he is starting work on part 2 of part 2 of that is the exact quote. But he is out there claiming that he is currently working on Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
They didn't learn their lesson the fucking first time out, apparently.
It's because Norman Reedus doesn't know he's working on Death Stranding 2. I refuse to believe he is aware of what's going on when Kojima's involved. I think it's just sort of like, he's like, this guy's crazy. I'll do whatever he says.
He's there for the art.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
come on.
Based off of
Whatever we're
Kojima's
doing.
Twitter, do you think he misunderstood it and Kojima really just wanted to watch Paddington 2 with Norman Reedus?
I hope so. Yeah, it was a movie that made him cry, and he loved it. So it's probably Paddington 2.
Oh, please.
And
I hope
I could
there's a
see
Paddington mod in Death Stranding. There has to be.
Oh, instead of the baby, you have a little Paddington that you're carrying across the country.
And he's just in Marmalade.
in this game you're the baby.
Yes.
And you're carrying a tiny Norman Reedus across a fucking weird beach. Princess
Beach.
Princess fucking beach. And here's the quotes from some of this interview. It took he's kind of talking about the process of like making a video game as opposed to making movies and how it's different and some of that other stuff. And it says it maybe took me 2 or 3 years to finish all the mocap sessions and everything. It takes a lot of work. And then the game came out and it just won all these awards. It was a huge thing. So we just started part 2 of that.
Oh, it's that simple.
It's so funny because, like, you know, him being from like the world of TV and movies, it's far less secretive. You can say like, yeah, there's a whole, but we got this whole roadmap, this whole plan to have all these sequels 40 years from now. Like, look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then, like, meanwhile, video games are just like so freaking secret. Tight-lit, do not say anything. So maybe that's just like a culture shock thing for him, where he's just like, oh, I could probably talk about this.
I think it's actually like, in some ways it's way worse, right? Because that secrecy does exist. You have closed sets, you have cases where like think of the interview quotes that people give where they're like, oh, I can't talk about that, or fucking Kevin Feige, you know, whoever the hell is gonna kill me, you know, like the level of secrecy around all the fucking dumb Marvel movies and all that shit, like that video game level of bullshit is seeping into movies in that way. I actually think it's more of, and I'm grasping a little bit here, but to me it almost seems like actors don't respect video games, and they're just like, oh yeah, we're starting part 2 of that. Like they just don't know, they don't care enough to keep it secret, and they haven't been told. They probably just need to be told like a little more clearly, like, hey, don't fucking talk about this. We haven't announced it yet.
Well, actors seem incredibly busy, so I don't think they have a lot of time to play video games.
Yeah,
but that's why it's so weird when you find out that you know, an actor or someone is a gamer. It's peculiar.
I think there's a lot of downtime on sets.
Yeah,
you got a little time in a trailer to, you know.
How many other actors, like I guess let's say mainstream actors besides Norman Reedus, that have been tied to games lately?
Ice-T.
Well, Ice-T's a professional gamer.
There was a guy who claimed I can't remember who this is now, but this was a story years ago, but like there was someone who claimed they were going to be in the next Mortal Kombat game, and then they weren't.
That's right.
They were like, I'm doing the voice of Johnny Cage or something like that, and then that turned out to not be true. And so like, what was that? Like, what were they doing that they thought they were doing the voice of that? And so there's always that situation of just like, oh, maybe Kojima is including Norman Reedus in his next project, but maybe Norman Reedus is so fucking detached that he's just like, whatever, man, let's hang out, let's do a thing. That it could be any other, whatever their next game is, he's just in it too. And also,
like, Death Stranding was so weird, and I'm sure it's not mocapped all in chronological order either, and it's all like on blank sets with no props. So it's like whatever you're mocapping and acting for could be anything, but maybe he's just presuming it's the second Death Stranding. I don't know. Also, where does that story go? Like, do we need a sequel to Death Stranding?
No, do we need? No, we do not. But and then, you know, they kind of went on to ask a little bit about performance capture. I thought this was a little more interesting because it's kind of like talking about the whole digital actor thing. It's less about, hey, there's going to be a new Death Stranding, but in fact, this could be just an anecdote from the first game. It's kind of the context is a little unclear in the interview. He says they have that new 5G camera too. Everyone loves the 5G cameras.
You got everything you need to know right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, at some point, like that's the like, oh yeah, the 5G cameras.
Like what the fuck? He's
not maybe those 5G cameras.
Is he conflated? Like what's happening? Maybe it's also called 5G. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
Sure, anything's possible. Anything's possible. So you can just be in a green room, and as it turns left, it builds cities, and as it looks up, it builds a sky, and you put that into a computer with dialogue. I asked Hideo, do you ever need a camera crew or an actor ever again? And he was like, no, you'll never capture the soul of a person. you will always need an actor.
Whoa.
And I was like, thank God you're telling me this. I thought I was going to be out of a job.
This is amazing. By the way, the fact that Norman Reedus and Hideo Kojima don't have like a podcast, like I feel like everyone slept. I feel like everyone slept on this the first time around. Where like
a
all
podcast
this very
with their translators going back and forth
right.
between them.
Look,
Cut all that
editing,
out.
right? Like you can do it. It would work. I promise you. We slept on that opportunity the first time around. All this goofy interaction between these two was happening. It was right there, and I like what this needs to happen. Norman Reedus needs to start explaining things that he doesn't know anything about to a lot of people.
I want fly on the wall documentaries of Kojima making games and like what the hell is he doing? How is he doing? Like the interactions between him and the staff and stuff like that. Because you don't get to see that sort of stuff. Like, you know, I want that. I want Spinal Tap, but Koji Pro edition.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are big crews on those games, and you know, I think we're even doing it right here a little bit, but like, you know, Hideo Kojima is responsible for some part of those games, and so are a ton of other people.
Huge team,
and
absolutely.
And so I don't know
Translators,
that would you want a camera there to ruin that mystique or something?
I love mystique being ruined. Give it to me.
Anyway, Kojima responded on Twitter with a picture of him holding a spiked bat and vaguely threatening Norman Reedus, which I think at that point you can just take that all to be his reaction. I think makes it a lot more credible than it would have been otherwise.
He has an old episode of Walking Dead on in the background as well.
So this is probably I mean it's probably old shots of from like Death Stranding 1 times or something like that. I just happen to have laying around me holding a spiked bat over Norman Reedus. You know.
It is.
Yeah, I have a hard time when I think about like a sequel to Death Stranding. I mean, sure, you could do it, but what do you do? Where do you take that story? Why do you make
all
it?
Grown up.
Yeah, right. I mean, you sure, like you could, but that already kind of is.
Yeah, you're kind it's happened already.
It's happened already. Yeah, like that bit of story is already kind of done or whatever. So it's just
it hasn't stopped people from making sequels before, though. Unfortunately,
you're right. I you know, and of course I'm going to say this, but like I don't want that out of Kojima. There's no part of me that is interested in a Death Stranding sequel beyond the question, well, what do you do with it? And that's not enough to get me to play a game that plays like that. If you have a dramatic departure gameplay wise, I think that universe, that world, that setting, sure, why not? You could tell another story in that environment. I just don't think that environment is all that interesting. Once you're on the other side of the reveals that they have in that first game, there was a lot more just like, yeah, I don't care about what they do with this anymore.
Yeah, I was morbidly curious, not curious, but morbidly curious about
Morbius curious,
the director's cut of Death Stranding, just trying to envision what was perhaps cut from that game.
He did address that. Kojima did address that and say that he didn't necessarily like the name director's cut because it does imply that things got cut, and this is more like we added some stuff. It's not necessarily like this isn't necessarily like cutting room floor stuff in the traditional sense.
Director's edition.
Addition. He had some fucking insane terminology that he was like, what if we called it this? And it's like, nah, I don't think it's gonna.
I had the dumbest thought this morning. Maybe not dumbest thought. I have tons of those. Where I was just driving home and I was like, I think Metal Gear Solid 5 might be one of the best games ever.
Okay. Sure. Mm-hmm. So you're allowed that.
Why
not?
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's really good. And
they should have named
apart.
Yeah.
They should have named the director's cut one of those weird names that he has already used for, director's cuts like subsistence, substance.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, MGS5 is really just mechanically rad. Like you just do so much cool shit in that game. And I really enjoyed the dumb, weird story too. kind of like right up until you get to that Jeep ride and like no one says anything and you're like, oh, okay, like what hang on. And all the weird, you know, unfinished content, cut content, oh, this was meant to go, the game never over, like all that fucking conspiracy shit. I feel like everything that those people mined or made up or whatever always sucked way worse than what was in the shipping game. So like it being an unfinished weird mess is better than the dumb shit that fucking came out of it. But I don't know, the final kind of moments of that where it kind of pulls back the curtain once and for all about who's who in the big boss thing is neat. And that game play like that's just a fun sandbox to get in and mess around in.
Yeah. I know this is like apples and oranges in this comparison, but then I remember just really hating my time with Red Dead Redemption 2 because it was so systems heavy and just takes so long to do any and everything. And you could argue the same thing for any of the Metal Gear games, but for some reason it works, for me at least, in MGS5, where like the system heavy, it just so snappy.
Yeah, like the animations themselves are quick though.
Yeah,
I think with Metal Gear, and this is I think one of the big differences for me, when you get that big kind of sandboxy open world, what can I do? What can I get away with? Like, I think I want a certain sense of whimsy.
Sure.
In that, like a certain amount of just like, it has to know that I'm going to try to do the most ridiculous bullshit imaginable and has to have some interesting answers for that. Whereas Red Dead never wants to blink. It never wants to wink at you. Red Dead kind of just wants to be Red Dead all day long. And gets monotonous at a certain point. And
which is why it had, you know, like the first one had goofy DLC and stuff like that, I guess.
Right. But, where they go like, oh, we can put that over here. And here's where we can do our fun thing without sullying the. It's a very Rockstar thing to do, I think. Is to take the stuff ultra seriously. But I think GTA, I think, does a really good job of kind of splitting the difference in some weird ways.
Yeah, they do.
That Red Dead, just the nature of Red Dead, you know, because it's not car crashes and weird explosions. It's I can get on a horse. Like you get up some ridiculous bullshit in that game. Like people have.
I was so sad they took out all the really great glitches in that game. Like when that game first came out, before it got patched, and people, you know, NPCs were flying around like condors and moving around like coyotes and stuff. I was like, I want the whole game to be like this. Like, come on.
Yeah, like give me a toggle to switch broken mode back on or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's Red Dead.
I don't know. Maybe I could be into a Death Stranding 2 if it's radically different.
Well, that's my thing. I'm a little upset that, selfishly, I guess, that if this is the next Kojima game, like...
I suspect that crew has grown large enough for this to not be the only thing they're working on.
Well, you're making an assumption that Death Stranding 2 will be a direct continuation with this, with like all the same mechanics and stuff like that. That might not necessarily be the case. It might be returning characters, but they're, you know, interacting with the game world different mechanically for all we know.
Sure, that's the hope, right? Because I think that any aspect that's like, if a large part of that game is hold down the triggers and walk down this hill so you don't fall, like I had no interest. Like it needs to be.
Sam becomes the mayor and it's a city building sim.
Sure.
At
least you know, that would be something different. But I think the for me, for something like that to work, I think the story and that universe has to be a lot better than it is.
Sure.
And so like you need to have a very different but also very rock solid, like if you think about Metal Gear Solid to MGS5, how different those games are while ostensibly being, you know, still kind of stealth action games and some of that other shit. Like it is night and day. And some of that is systems based. Some of that is like, oh, we've found out interesting new ways to have AI respond to your actions and you know, behave in this larger environment and all that sort of stuff, but it still has fun with those systems the same way Metal Gear Solid 1 did. And I think that's why it still feels kind of grounded in that. Like Metal Gear Survive is a really good example of how to fuck all that up, right? Where they're like, oh, we've decided to go all in on this totally ridiculous side story thing. It has none of the nuance, none of the fun touches that Metal Gear Solid had up to that point. And instead it was just like, here's someone who doesn't get what make those games great, making those games. And man, I finished that game. God damn.
The dust.
It's the dust, the fucking dust. Oh my God.
You know, I could definitely see like the way we've positioned Norman Reedus not knowing quite a lot about video game development. He could.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's great, and I really do want to hear these conversations. But he probably could be working with Kojima on another project. Yeah, that he is just assuming is Death Stranding 2.
And he might just be like, we started part 2 of that. Might just be like of the relationship between him and Koji Pro Studios vis-a-vis mocap.
Yeah, but I mean, the story though is like it won all these awards. It was a huge thing, so we just started part 2 of that. Like he's pretty directly talking about Death Stranding.
It's way more fun if like
it's way more fun if he's
no
just
idea
like,
what
I
he's
don't know,
doing.
They told me it was Death Stranding 2, and then
put me on a plane, and here I am.
I'm in Japan. Everyone's talking Japanese. I think I'm assuming it's Death Stranding 2.
I'm just reading dialogue. They say my name's not Sam anymore, but I don't know.
I don't know. Kojima sees himself as like an auteur, right? He could just pull like a Wes Anderson and just have his troupe.
We definitely see him as an auteur.
So yeah, I think the question of how Kojima sees himself, I think, is an interesting one that we don't really.
I have no idea if he sees himself as an auteur.
He doesn't. Yeah. He's a vampire. Vampire.
Yeah, he can't see himself.
Oh shit! That
he just sees the glasses.
Much.
That's it.
Yeah, I just Death Stranding 2 is such a haunted phrase, a string of words that I don't like hearing. Like I hear it just go, no, come on.
Okay, I gotta say I'm with you on that, but
I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
you know,
I'll be the voice of dissent here.
And that's why there's a part of me that has to sit here and believe, because they also posted like, hey, we're hiring, and they have a bunch of openings and all this other stuff. And they moved recently, I think, to a bigger building. So I think there's reason to at least speculate that they could be working on multiple projects at the same time. And that's the only way I'm gonna be able to sleep at night, because if they're like, oh, we're rolling right into Death Stranding 2, I'm like, oh God, why? The world is bad. The world went bad.
Whatever, man.
What if he saves it?
I think it's real.
I mean, hey, I as someone who thought Metal Gear Solid 1 was like kind of underwhelming as a short video game, but thought that MGS 2 was fucking incredible. Sure, he's done it before.
You
I guess
that about MGS 1?
Yeah. It's like there's so many cutscenes. It's like there are aspects of that are like barely a video game.
What is it like?
Being on the cutting edge, being on the fucking cutting edge of video games. I've been out here for years.
Gracious.
Yeah, no, I thought that the pacing and a lot of stuff at the time, granted, video games have changed around that game, but like at the time, that game, like.
You got up to the Psycho Mantis fight and you were not wowed.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying every aspect of it is fucking bullshit or whatever. It's not, a fucking Sonic the Hedgehog game or whatever. But like, but I think that like the pacing of it is. There's a lot of cutscenes at a time when the PlayStation was getting into this insanely cutscene heavy territory, where you had a Final Fantasy VII and you had all these other games coming out that were
like movies now. We're gonna have big cutscenes.
At a time that was not necessarily a positive. At a time that was like a kind of a controversial move, where you're just like, I don't like my feeling coming away from Metal Gear Solid. And I realize that this is probably actually wrong now, but like my feeling coming out of that game was like, this motherfucker should stop making video games and go make a movie if he wants to make a movie so fucking bad. Like, fuck this. Like, this
I would like to see what Kojima would do if he made a movie. Don't get me wrong.
It's a 3-hour game or something, I think if he made a movie, it would be pointless. Like, I think it would not be great, because I don't think his work is all that great in that realm. Like, it has to all be together, because he has to be able to play around with the format of what is a video game and what is a narrative for it to be interesting.
I think he benefits greatly from editing.
Yes.
I think, he's not a solo auteur. He had other people he was working with and stuff like that could cut some of the chaff off. And I think if he did make a movie, it would be 20 hours long, because he wouldn't know how to edit it down. And I don't know if he could make a good movie, because the things he wants to do take too much time to do. and can like only be done in video game format where you can save, quit, come back later. Unlike a movie
what you
where
want
you
is
got
a
to sit
season
there.
of anime out of him, basically. You know,
I'd
you
be
don't
down
want a
for it.
movie.
Give him a
you
Netflix
want-
series.
Yeah,
Damn.
give him 26 episodes to figure
So
something
many
out.
series.
Yeah,
And,
do
and
some
so,
do some crazy.
like that would let him stretch out. But I think that like the whole thing that makes him interesting, the whole thing that makes him someone worth talking about in any of these spaces is the way he melds together the non-interactive and the interactive.
Yeah.
And finding new ways to do that sort of stuff. And I think that's the area he's carved out. And I think that that's the area that his games have done really well.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like that didn't make MGS1 like that.
Metal Gear Solid, well, this was before that there were a lot of examples to draw from. So it's a very different thing. And it didn't hit as a welcome different. It hit as this is a boss fight. Go cool this key down so I can open this door. And then 3 more boss fights, and then we're done, and a bunch of codec stuff, and then a bunch of cutscenes.
Damn.
So it's a game that you sit there and watch more than you play, and that is not necessarily a welcome thing. That's
yes,
not
Jan,
that controversial. I think
Jan,
that
you
like
have a question.
Go ahead, Jan.
I was gonna say, give him an AR game. I want to see a Pokemon Go, but there's a finite ending because I feel like
I mean, if he could get those Konami IP, if he could like a Boktai fucking AR game would be
that'd be so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah,
It would
Boktai
know
was
how
him.
bright it was.
Boktai was him, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
It all comes back to vampires. Damn you, Kojima.
Right.
Sorry to get into the analyzing of your interesting opinion there. Sorry
Yeah,
for the
no, that's you can go read that review. That review still exists. But it's I mean, like the PlayStation and all of that storage space like led to a sea change in a lot of games. And think about I think Final Fantasy is an even more striking example where you've got these cases of like these were always long games, but they were long games and the cutscenes were just like kind of there in engine, boom, 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 boom. And then suddenly you've got like, oh, here's this big sweeping thing. And you're like, I'm just setting the controller down now and going like this. This is a really fun video game. At some point, it's like, is that why you come to video games?
Well, you said you liked MGS2 a lot. That stuff didn't really change much between MGS1 and 2.
So I think a lot of things in the industry had changed around by that time because you'd seen a lot more examples of that. That style of game making was a little more acceptable. But also the great part about sure, of course, we all change. But also every time I've gone back and played MGS1, it's been like, yeah, this is not a good balance of.
You never played MGS1?
Of game
no, I did.
Cutscene.
Okay.
I played it, but I played it once. I played it once in like 1990, whatever, 6, 7, I don't know.
That's the right. I think that's the right thing to do in a lot of
cases.
That was it. Like,
And I remember it.
You ever see Twin Snakes? He jumps off a missile. He does a fucking John Woo backflip off a missile.
It's so corny.
Oh, Jesus
Twin Snakes
Christ,
is so fucking corny.
Jesus Christ.
You
people
in it?
Yeah.
Norman Reedus.
Snake is Jesus, I've come to find.
But the
MGS corny. Who'd have heard it?
The best part about MGS2 is playing with the expectations and all of the trailer stuff having Snake in it to that game be like that aspect of the game and that willingness to do something that dramatic is where I reconnected with the games that guy had made, because I thought Metal Gear on the NES was an amazing video game when it came out. I was fucking blown away as a kid playing that thing. And so Metal Gear Solid in some ways was just like, well, this isn't even that. Like they didn't even make a game as good as that from a video game perspective in some ways. But MGS2, like the storytelling goes off the rails in a way there that is fucking fascinating. That is, like people get all their fucking like, oh, Kojima predicted this, predicted that. Like, you fucking get into the fucking end of MGS2.
You just weren't paying attention at the time. Actually, he wasn't predicting shit.
Yeah, well, sure, yeah, but if you look at today and you look at the explanation for why the S3 happened or whatever, like it's fun. But yeah, no, the way that MGS2 fucks around with those expectations and all that other shit, like seeing the seething fucking anger out of that fan base that just wasn't fucking ready to handle it and was just like so fucking angry, like for what?
I could take all the words you're saying right now and apply it to Death Stranding.
I I doubt it.
I rest my case.
Yeah, I doubt it. Because Death Stranding is actually
or
just shit
Majora's
all the way
Mask
through.
or Wind Waker.
Wind Waker's good. I don't know what we're complaining about there.
Well, people just bitched about the art style.
Well, sure, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yes, if you want to talk about like pissing off a fan base, like that, I'm for that all day long.
Okay.
Like fucking with people's expectations on that aspect and going like, no, we're like, especially the Wind Waker. Holy shit! I don't mean to fucking. We're talking another fucking 3 hours about how Nintendo fans that were just like, I want my mature Zelda, are the most childish fucking morons on the planet. Absolute dipshits. Fucking stupid. As someone who was in that room when that art style got revealed, it was fucking incredible. You're like, oh my God, like Wind Waker's fucking, like, look at this. How could you fucking come away from that and go like, oh, I want Link to murder a motherfucker. Like, fuck off. Like, stop playing video games. Go away. Like, it's just like, oh my God.
What year was that?
2003, 2? No.
There's no way to know. I'm just seeing if we can come up.
There's no way to know. Yeah, you can't look this up.
It was 3. 2.
Blades will bleed.
2 and
Go
3.
fuck yourself. Straight up. And yeah, I don't know. I think trying to bring Death Stranding to that conversation is really misguided because that game is just straight up bad across the board.
I hope Guillermo del Toro comes back.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Me too.
There's one of the text message tones that I think it's the one when Del Toro contacts you, because everyone has their own chime. One of those is really fucking good, and I wanted to pull it and make it my like text message noise. And then I was like, oh, but I don't want to have to think about Death Stranding every time I get a text message, so let's not. Am I
misremembering or completely fabricating a story where he was just like, I'm never making a video game again? After, I don't know, like his mocap stuff. I want to say like the
Del Toro was out.
Yeah, like Del Toro was just like, that was painful, and I make movies all day. Like,
I don't think Del Toro didn't do the mocap though. He was just a face actor, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say again, like I said, I could be just completely fabricating that.
Was it Mads? Was it?
No, it was definitely not that. But anyway,
Mads is always down to hang out and smoke cigarettes.
It was not.
So cool.
I don't, but I would with him.
Yeah,
seriously. I would start smoking to hang out with Mads Mikkelsen.
I took up smoking just to deal with you.
It's a bad answer. Don't smoke. Electronic Arts is said to be actively pursuing an acquisition or merger.
No shit.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, everyone's always talking to everyone. Like, certainly that's never been more true. But this sounds like it came pretty close. This is from a site called puck.news, which to my surprise was not a news site about Puck from the real world.
Oh, I thought you were going to squeeze in a little...
Midsummer Night's Dream?
Yeah.
Nope, hockey. Hockey. You know, I don't know where I got that from, but yeah.
What does it say that's the last thing that came to my mind?
Yeah, last thing, me too.
Japanese Pac-Man? What are we talking about here? So this story went around, and at first I think a lot of people were like, well, what the fuck is Puck News? Who knows? But then this kind of got corroborated a little bit around that EA had recent discussions with companies like Disney, Apple, Amazon, and NBC Universal / Comcast, which is the same company, and that the Comcast deal seemed to have come the closest, where they started working out different configurations of the company, what that might look like. That, hey, are we going to spin NBC Universal out into its own thing and then have Comcast merge with EA, and Andrew Wilson of EA continues to run that, or what have you? I guess when you think about the amount of money being thrown at video game companies out there, it probably makes sense for EA to be taking a little more of an active role. I feel like we hear a lot about this, but like it's usually like, hey, has anyone come to try to buy you lately? Is usually the line of questioning that you ask like a Ubisoft or something like that. It's not like, hey, we're out there trying to make this happen. But one gets the impression that on the heels of that Activision deal, which then as a result of this, there was some talk about like, oh, EA was trying to buy Activision for a while, which totally makes sense. But hasn't necessarily been 100% confirmed. But like, yeah, I guess it makes sense for them to try to get paid. EA is probably still, well, shit.
Well, they don't
maybe
have
not.
FIFA
I don't
anymore.
know. They don't. but also I was about to say EA is probably still the largest third-party publisher out there, but what does that even mean in this day and age where actually is it Epic for putting Fortnite on other platforms? Like what is, it used to be like EA and Activision trading that thing back and forth. As Call of Duty got bigger, Activision kind of started taking it from them more often than not, but obviously FIFA was a very big deal, is a very big deal.
Here's the fun game to play.
Okay.
What do you think it goes for?
Oh gosh.
What did Activision go for?
Because I don't think it's as big as you might think.
EA? Activision went for 69 billion.
Nowhere near that.
I don't think it goes for that.
So I think it probably I mean, we'd have to look at like market caps and then have to actually know things about business to do this the right way, but
no. To be clear, let us do the armchair quarterback wrong way. Like we're not claiming to do this the right way. It's fun. We're having a conversation.
Yeah. I think that the climate for acquisitions and all this other stuff only getting hotter since that Activision deal makes EA more money and offsets what you would think of in terms of just like, oh, Activision's a bigger get than EA.
Do you think it's like a temporary inflation?
Yes, that there's there's
also a real life inflation.
Yes, there's also a real life inflation. So like, but yeah, I think that it probably offsets that in a way that I don't know, I'll say 68 to 70, like right in that range is probably what EA could get as someone who hasn't done any of the fucking math and wouldn't even be able to do it if it was put in front of me. Yeah, I'm gonna go in that range. But I think I agree with you in spirit that like EA maybe isn't as big of a get as Activision in some ways. But don't you think that EA has a much more diverse portfolio, whereas Activision is really just, it's Call of Duty on the Activision end. Everything else they've kind of let spin out. King has their mobile stuff, and Blizzard is in a state of disarray that is not as reliable as it used to be.
Sure.
Whereas EA is at least threatening to put out a Need for Speed game someday, and they at least do have a handful of sports games, but the licensing fees that they have to pay to those sports organizations offsets the value of that a little bit and all that sort of stuff. That
I think another thing we're forgetting is how big the Sims are.
Sure. Yeah.
Like a huge
So maybe it is
market.
like a 60 billion.
Yeah. If you wanted to come in and say, hey, we think we can exploit the Sims really well, and we're a TV company, and so you can put all of our IP into the next Sims game, and we think there's synergies there or whatever the fuck else. Yes.
I went to the wrong school.
I know. Then maybe that makes sense. But like, I don't know. You're probably not looking at it right now and going like, oh, Battlefield. What's the next Battlefield?
No,
it's more like, oh, like Apex is a really big deal on the free to play side and is making them a ton of fucking money. They have a little bit of Star Wars stuff. They've got Need for Speed on the horizon. They've got
Unravel.
Yeah. No, they've got some EA partner stuff. They've got, Dead Space reboot. But like beyond that, but also beyond that, if you were, I don't know, like, because this is almost certainly not a video game company at this point, because I don't think Microsoft could get away with owning both EA and Activision. I think antitrust would probably come up and be like, what the fuck you? What? Come on. We barely wanted you to buy Activision. And I don't think Sony necessarily has the wallet to go after it. So it almost, that's why when you see Disney, Apple, Amazon, Comcast, like those are the sorts of companies that make way more sense for someone to buy EA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think seeing it all laid out on paper now, I kind of see Comcast being not like the pick, but like being a logical choice to perhaps buy.
Yeah, it sounds like that deal fell apart. So like, but it got very close. So like, clearly a lot of people agreed with that at some point. And you think of someone in a larger content space, whether that's Amazon, any of these companies, Apple, Disney, they all have television content. There's a lot of things you could leverage there if you wanted to go make your Sims movie. I don't. Maybe all that stuff sucks. Maybe all that stuff is bad, but I could see someone having the idea of like, oh, EA has decades of intellectual property that we could pull from in a variety of ways. But I do think that, assuming that EA eventually does sell to a company like this, I do think that this like ends any kind of hope that you have, that, you know, people have been burned so many times, they probably don't have this hope anymore. But if you're sitting there going like, I can't wait for them to fucking finally get their head out of their ass and make a new Ultima game. Like, I think any kind of merger like this, any kind of situation where they end up at some larger media company, I think really firmly shuts the door on all that shit.
Oh, totally. Like all their existing franchises get turned into series or movies. You know, like
but like they don't dig into the catalog and go like, we've got to revitalize Wing Commander, like, or you know, hey, what can we do with Command and Conquer? Like they tried to do stuff with the Command and Conquer, and they still should, but I, you know,
they're seeing the Halo show have the amount of success it has, and it's like, well, we could do that with Mass Effect.
Sure. Yeah, I guess actually like the BioWare stuff, like you could take your Dragon Age and your Mass Effect, and
yeah, they see The Witcher on Netflix, right? And then like, you know, we got a handsome man that slays demons. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then just thinking about the catalog now and just how you could easily transition it, especially with the glut of programming on streaming services now, like The Sims, that's a reality show. It's pretty much the real world, right? And then I really
just rebrand the real world as The Sims, and people get to vote on what people do.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much the real world, except that you make people vote on what they do. It's like, nope, you don't get to piss today.
And then, oh god. And then I really liked Knockout City from last year. That is easily like a flashy reality show that is just a competition.
Okay.
It's not them
Bringing
anymore.
It back to Puck.
Velen bought the IP back from EA.
Nice.
And the game went free to play. So that's out from under. That's out from under the EA thumb. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing is probably up for debate.
Well, they'll take It Takes Two and then just make it a marriage reality show.
Sure. Obstacle course, like Wipeout, but for couples.
Oh, the couples that are about to get divorced.
Right. Yes. It's Divorce Court
meets Wipeout.
Meets Wipeout. I think that this is how TV shows get pitched, right? I mean, this is probably
we're giving out free ideas.
Yeah. This is all right. Our consulting fees. We're going to start
Wipe out
at the bottom of the screen. Wipe out. Oh, Jesus.
I mean, that's okay.
That's pretty good.
Fantastic.
That like Rob Riggle will host that or something.
Yeah. In my mind, John Cena just hosts all those.
Yeah. I was thinking John Cena as well.
Yeah.
There was one of those fucking shows. It was like a TBS primo TBS, like called like Cannonball or something like that, where like they're just seeing like, what can we do without killing someone? Like, let's push the envelope to a place where we are breaking bones and concussing people, but not actual murder. And he like some John Cena adjacent dude was hosting that show. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, that seems like something the Miz would.
And they would just shoot people like 60 miles an hour off a slide.
This
like
was the
fucking.
Miz show.
My god, what insanity!
That Frogger show came and went. I don't know if they're going to make more of it, but like that Frogger show finally did debut.
Was it actually like branded?
Yes.
Yes.
They somehow
that was the
went
biggest.
and
I missed this.
It was a Wipeout style obstacle course that they then just called Frogger for some reason, because Konami made $8 off it or whatever.
You fucking with me? Where was this?
No,
thing?
it was. No. I don't know where it went.
What fucking Hulu? I don't. One of the streaming services. Now we have to look.
Yeah, it was.
Peacock.
It's on Peacock. Okay.
Yeah, Peacock. Yeah, Peacock is a thing.
Hosted by Kyle Brandt and Damon Wayans Jr.
That's right. Didn't we? Oh, we
Their
did.
Microphones weren't plugged in.
Yes, that's what it was. These fuckers were using prop mics.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did 13 episodes of that fucking thing. Last aired in November of last year. So,
what?
Well, they're filming up.
I don't know if it's been. 2. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's been picked up for another season. But like that, that's just the most bizarre video game IP usage I can think of in ever. Maybe I don't know, the idea that like you're making a game, like that you're making that type of TV show and you just decide to slap the Frogger IP onto it.
Well, like the whole set is designed after Frogger.
Yeah.
I can't believe what I'm looking at here.
It's like bizarre because like I like Frogger, and I get that Frogger had kind of a resurgence as a result of Seinfeld, and they did make a bunch of other Frogger games that were absolute dog shit.
Oh, they're terrible.
But like, how did this come together? How did this come together in a way that we're like, no, this is the perfect usage, and it's Frogger. Everyone loves Frogger. Frogger's like Pac-Man. I'm like, yeah, Frogger. It's like in the same pantheon. You got Pac-Man, you got Frogger, you got Donkey Kong. Like Scramble. Let's fucking go.
I'm also learning today that there was a Damon Wayans Jr., so I'm learning a lot.
Yeah,
it was probably just like something that came out of like some sort of corporate retreat. You know. And people, you know, talk, and they got off the ground. That's.
I think we own Frogger.
Don't we have Frogger? In the game, you'll play as George Costanza.
Right.
Hey, I'll watch anything with Jason Alexander in it.
They should have made that. Like, that would be a game show I would rather watch. Is like someone trying to move the cabinet across Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
In traffic. Sign me up for that shit.
Yeah, sure. I guess. I don't know. Television is bizarre.
Truly.
Nice. They came up with Frogger, and they said, "Hey, buy the rights," and then they did. The new tiers of PlayStation Plus have started to roll out in Malaysia and Taiwan and some other Asian territories. This is going to be a phased rollout. It'll happen in North America in June here. So we're, you know, it's a few weeks away here, but this is kind of the first rollout of the revamped PlayStation Plus. In case you forgot, Project Spartacus is a 3-tiered setup, where as you work your way up the tiers, you get access to more and more games, but this is not the Game Pass model of getting all of the new games on day one, which anytime you ask Sony, and people keep asking Sony, hey, what are you doing? They will reiterate until the cows come home that they think it would ruin their video games if they had to sell them in this way. Which I don't know, for the amount that they invest into their single player story-driven games, maybe that makes sense. I don't know. Again, we don't have the books in front of us. Who can say?
Yep, that's their position.
That is their position. So they are not doing it. Also, what they are not doing is providing good, appropriate versions of original PlayStation games for people to play on their PlayStation 5s. They have ding dong done it again. They keep getting away with this. They have put the PAL versions of some of these games back out yet again.
No.
Even in territories that were NTSC territories from the beginning and didn't originally receive the PAL games. The difference here, if you're not familiar, because this is a solved problem now. Yep. We all have our big screen, flat screen TVs. They all run at their own resolutions and everything's fine. Back when we had old style TVs, NTSC was the format here, and it ran at usually like a 30 frames a second or a 60 frames a second. PAL ran at 50 frames per second, which means that the games that ran at 30 tended to run at 25. And a lot of games through the Super Nintendo era and all this other stuff handled this in different ways, where most often, or I guess I shouldn't say most often because I haven't gone and compared them all myself, but a lot of games just ran slower to compensate for that. They're like, oh, we got 5 fewer frames per second. We're going to slow down the game that percentage to make it work and ship it. Fuck it. They'll never know. And so this led to situations where, like, if you were comparing lap times in a racing game like F-Zero with someone who lived overseas, they would be completely different, because time is still time wherever you go, weirdly enough. But if the frame rate is different and the game runs slower, you're going to have way different times if you're playing the PAL version of a game than the NTSC version. Anyway, so Ape Escape, Jumping Flash, Wild Arms, Everybody's Golf, which is Hot Shots Golf here, all appear to be based on those European versions. This is based on Video Games Chronicles reporting. They have gone out and seen some of these versions in action. And the PlayStation Classic, when it came out, also did this same thing. And people complained then, and they did it again.
I don't get it.
It's fucking wild that this is still a problem. Like people are trying to like grasp at straws and try to figure out like, okay, why would they do this? And the nearest they can get to is like, oh, well, the PAL versions support more languages. So if we just put that version in, it's got full eFigs support or whatever. And so we support all those languages out of the box. Nintendo solved this problem by offering both in some situations.
I was going to ask, is it impossible to just put up both versions?
Yeah, what's the problem?
I don't know. This seems like something that is so possible to not fuck up, and yet they did in the exact same way that they fucked it up on the PlayStation Classic, that I just like, at some point, how does this keep happening? I get that it's like probably like, oh, well, we already pulled all those ISOs and turned them into the right format, and we already did all the work to make those versions run. But like, it sucks. This is shitty. This is not how people want to play these games. And also, again, if you take this to the extreme of like trying to serve your customers with like, we're honoring the legacy of the PlayStation. First, ignore the part where like the games they've decided to include is just like a bizarre mishmash of stuff that you're just like, fucking no, you got it wrong. To do this on top of that is really fucking wild.
Yeah.
Like, why do it at all if you're going to fuck it up like this? It's just like it's just a lack of, and I don't want to say lack of caring, because I'm sure that there are people that fucking care somewhere in the chain on this process that are being overruled and being like, oh yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could also fucking get it done and out the door so we can get back to making real video games over here. Go play your Gran Turismo 2, dipshit. Oh man, the CEO called me a dipshit. Damn it. In his newsletter, no less.
Thanks for the recommendations on these restaurants, though.
It's really useful.
Oh fuck.
This is the thing that I think people were like, oh, there's no way they'll do this again, and they super fucking did.
It's not incentivizing me to enroll in these other tiers if this is what I'm going to be getting, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it's driving me further away and making me thinking about maybe I should just cancel it. Maybe I don't need PlayStation Plus right now.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I mean, hey, if you play online games on a PlayStation, you still need it.
Yeah.
But as someone who probably plays way more games on PC than either of the current consoles, like personally, I don't know that I necessarily need it. But yeah, I don't know. This is still coming out here in a few weeks, and maybe by the time it comes out in the US, they will be like, oh, we're not doing that for the US because we care here, or some insane thing like that. But that'd almost be worse. So we'll have to wait and see if this ends up being a worldwide situation, or if this is something that they will correct for even these Asian territories that have the bad versions now. Or what?
It just seems like if it's already rolled out in other territories that supported NTSC, I don't know if the work has been done.
Yeah.
And that was like, it feels like a lot to think that it is an oversight and to just assume like, oh, everywhere else is PAL.
Right. Or like, is the work for these being done in a PAL territory so all the people working on it remember those versions of those games? And like, here's the right one, governor, put it out, mate. And then like they pushed out the door. Like, I just don't know how this is okay. I feel like there are like limited situations where you want to play the PAL version of a game, and it's usually on Commodore computers. Usually when you're playing Amiga games, I feel like there are situations where, because those games were developed in PAL territories and designed to run at that speed, when you then take them and throw them on an NTSC device, it ends up running faster in a way that seems weird. The music sounds all different, and it's just like sometimes it's when I'm emulating a Commodore 64, I emulate the PAL version of it. Also, like that's like I have, even though as a kid I played those games faster, when you play them in PAL, you're like, oh, okay, this seems like a much more reasonable speed for this game to run. This music sounds better and not like jumbled, bunched together in a weird way. Like this is probably the right way, and I've kind of come around on those specific situations, but not these. This is ridiculous.
It just seems insane to at least not offer both versions, unless I don't know. Did they lose all the NTSC versions?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're here a second ago.
Fell off the truck.
I've got them on a hard drive over here. If they need them, get a hold of me. Do not get a hold of me.
We have your games.
Yeah, and so it's led to this really funky situation, and granted, you have to jump through some hoops on this, but like you don't have to modify your console to do it. You can play PlayStation 1 games better on an Xbox than on a PlayStation 5.
Pretty wild.
And that's just fucking nuts. I don't know. Like, there's some caveats there. It's not a clean one-to-one comparison. I get it, but like, it's just fucking weird.
Very, very.
This was meant to be Sony caring about its stuff, and this feels like something that should have been like a feel-good look back at the past, and like yet again, just like the PlayStation Classic, it's dumb. All right, last story here. Here is a feel-good story from the past. Pac-Man, 42 years old.
Oh,
congratulations, Pac-Man!
Yeah,
happy birthday
scheduled
to Pac-Man.
his first colonoscopy.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna poop in that box and send it back.
He's about to shit. He's about to shit in a box.
Just
Happy
do the noise.
birthday!
Oh shit! Oh shit! Let me find the noise. Hang on a second.
Time to shine.
Nice.
Was that the right one? I don't
That
know.
seemed good enough. Happy birthday, Mr.
Yeah,
Pac-Man.
that's a noise a Pac-Man might make while dying or shitting in a box.
Yeah, it wasn't
Um,
quite the right fill. I think my thing didn't save the setting.
Oh, well.
It used to be more Pac-Man-y. Anyway,
Namco considers May 22nd, 1980 to be Pac-Man's birthday.
On his ID.
Yeah, that's and so they've got some Pac-Man stuff coming. I feel like Namco goes through this cycle not once a year, but every so often, where they're just like, here's a bunch of Pac-Man shit. I don't know. And so Pac-Man stuff is coming to Fortnite. I imagine this will be t-shirts and stuff, and not necessarily you can play as Pac-Man, because that would be
Gliders,
too
the
good.
Pac-Man.
Yeah,
Hotel.
yeah.
No
Here's a
hotel
pack. Here's a backpack.
Oh,
Back Pac-Man.
okay.
I don't know what the items are. I'm sure that's and Pac-Man Museum Plus, the newest collection, is coming out end of this week for multiple platforms. And they've recorded a new song. Jan, I've provided the link to this in hopes that you might play the new Pac-Man song. I don't know if this is being done in a way that we will be able to hear it.
Oh, y'all probably won't. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I can open this here. Y'all won't be able to hear it though.
That's fine.
I'll listen to it myself.
I listened to it already. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we
you
gonna
already listened to it?
count
Okay.
I'm playing it now.
Okay.
This is We Are Pac-Man. And
It's something.
it's a fun little video, I guess. But look,
All right, that's enough of that.
yeah. It's
look.
it's no Pac-Man fever. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, look, 42 on the cusp of a midlife crisis.
Pac-Man buying a motorcycle.
Yep.
Getting
Trying to,
divorced from Mrs.
yeah.
Pac-Man.
I mean, that's actually the thing they're putting out. Will have a different Ms. Pac-Man in it. So
Starting to get real serious about hair plugs. Like real serious.
Doing the research.
Putting his name and number in a bunch of websites he shouldn't be.
I think Pac-Man is mad at Kirby for stealing his shine of like the fun circle dude.
I
The
was
guy who
thinking
eats?
that the guy who eats. Like I was thinking that last night. I was thinking about Kirby and going, man, I got really mad about it. I was like, hey, hang on, here,
I
fuck
don't-
Kirby.
I don't know off the top of my head, what does Kirby look like when he swallows Pac-Man in Smash? Does he get the
Oh,
Carrot
your game deletes
eyebrows?
itself.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like paradox.
I don't know.
I'm looking this up. Oh yeah, he's got the little carrot eyes and he's got a horrendous little nose.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
don't like that design of Pac-Man where he has a nose. I find it perverse, disgusting
Yeah.
even.
Like there's Pac-Man
And
art over the years that
I'm not
is.
true to the character, you know? He's a little circle, he doesn't have a nose. Where'd this nose come from?
So if you go back
Legs?
and look at some of
Please.
the original like Puck-Man art that they did alongside the original
I don't-
release, Like
He's
he
got
did.
a honker.
Yeah, they gave him that big curvy dick nose like 42 years ago.
Yeah, but it was a mistake.
Yeah.
It was like you know how Mega Man looks on the Mega Man cover. He doesn't look like that in other art.
That's my Mega Man.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's why they did Pac-Land, so they could have a Pac-Man that looked like the Pac-Man art. There's some drawings of like the original Japanese art with the big old nose. I think is you're right. It's too much. It's too much.
Disgusting.
But there's a lot of there's just a lot of different Pac-Man designs that they were selling a poster, but I don't think I'm gonna jump through the hoops to buy a poster off of Namco's Japanese website. There was like an exciting Pac-Man poster that I thought looked pretty cool. Exciting Pac-Man. It said because it says exciting.
Okay,
it's not.
Seeing Kirby with a nose too is double perverse.
Yeah, that's
extremely incorrect to do to the boy.
I'm glad we can put that picture in people's heads.
Yeah. Yes, you can push the Pac-Man button and live it out as you need to. I'm interested in this Pac-Man museum thing they're putting out pretty soon, but at this point, most of those games, because it has some of the newer games on it. Like I think there's some versions of like the Championship Edition stuff on there, and it'll be nice to have an excuse to go back and play some of those again. But like the old games, like whatever, it's like every number of devices within 25 feet of me that can play those games is absurd. At this
sandwich I have could probably play Pac-Man.
Yeah, definitely. And so we say, happy birthday, Pac-Man.
Yeah,
happy birthday, Pac-Man.
Yeah.
We should have pre-prepared a little piece of art that has the Giant Bomb logo with the perverse Pac-Man nose on it. And the eyes with the chunk out of it.
Yeah, that pointy honker.
The eyebrows.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Someone else will do it for me.
That was the original idea, was to be able to change out the bomb and the logo on a pretty regular basis, depending on what the new releases were. But that was a very long time ago. I think we did it 3 times. We did it for Halloween one year.
Oh yeah, that's on my one of these guys.
One of these guys.
I lost it.
Oh well.
He was here once.
All right. Well, why don't we take a break then, and we'll come back.
All right.
With all of your emails.
Beautiful.
Next. All right, we're back, and now it's time to talk about emails.
The music's playing, I swear.
Bombcast at giantbomb.com is where you send the emails to us, and we will take them. We ran out of time last week and didn't get to take any, so I've got some that were pulled for last week's show and some that were pulled for this week's show, and we'll see where we get to with these emails.
All right.
How about it? Okay. Lex from Cork, Ireland writes in to talk about some Overwatch here. He says, the subject line here is, Overwatch League really does seem to be fucking up Overwatch 2.
Oh.
Which is something we kind of speculated that maybe the esportsification of Overwatch was making it less fun for real people. The Overwatch League restarted this weekend after 222 days of no matches. They are the only franchised esport and therefore the only esport with off seasons at all, really. The live show exclusively on YouTube attached around 90,000 viewers live, which dropped to around 70,000 after some bad technical problems during the first match. Last week, which is now 3 weeks ago or whatever, we were wondering why Overwatch 2 is releasing now in the state that it's in, and says it's because of the league needing to start again, and Aaron Keller, the current lead on Overwatch 2, has pretty much said as much. Within the community, the 5v5 change is also widely thought to be from frustration from the loudest and highest level players. All the MOBA abilities that made the first game fun casually when brought up to a high level caused huge frustration. Characters with the shields and crowd control abilities meant the skills of the esportsmen had less chances to shine in favor of grouping up in clumps of unkillable tanks with healers pumping up their health. This weekend saw a lot of fun individual plays from players popping off on Widowmaker and Soldier 76, but it begs the question, what makes Overwatch interesting when it's going so far in the shooter direction and away from its original selling point? What game from the heady days of everything being sold as an esport seemed like the worst fit to you or killed your interest in an otherwise fun game?
Wow, that was some insightful commentary from our esports commentator, Lex from Cork, Ireland. Thank you.
Yeah.
Insightful.
Yeah, that I think that's been, you're going to find a lot of different opinions on the way some of these games are going, but I do feel like I've seen a real outpouring of people saying, hey, the direction this game is going in is only making its problems worse. And yeah, I mean, they do make a fair amount of money on the Overwatch League, and I think that, for me, I want games that I can play for years after their release and have a fun time online. And I realize that's a very hard thing to do, because eventually a lot of the lower skill players are going to fall away and you're going to be left with the killers. And me, as someone who comes in like, I haven't played this game in 8 months, am I going to have a good time? Fuck no, I'm not. But like, that's the ideal, is I just want to be able to enjoy a video game. That's not to say I don't want to take it seriously. And all that sort of stuff. Like I'm okay taking it seriously when I'm playing it, but it's never going to be a lifestyle for me. Like, that specific aspect of gaming is just not why I'm here. I like to play a wide variety of games. I don't just want to play 600 hours of some competitive shooter and not touch anything else. Like, that's people love to do that. I think that's fucking crazy. But like, sure, good on them. Especially if they're able to make some kind of money doing it, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's the other kind of larger, I don't know. Like, it's interesting looking at esports today when you think about the decades of what esports has often been. I don't think it's that much different. Like, it's much more legitimized now, but I think that's just because people stopped fighting it. And more companies started realizing there was money in it for them directly. So like Activision running the Overwatch League themselves and all of this other stuff makes a lot more sense than like MLG or some other fly-by-night organization popping up and being like, we're going to run tournaments and everybody's going to be rich, especially me, Mr. Cocaine. And then like raising a bunch of funding and like, exploiting a bunch of kids that are good at a video game and then disappearing in the night or something. Like, the esports to like crypto bro, like fucking pipeline, I feel like that's one of those like, hey, this is one circle kind of Venn diagrams of just like the same energy is pouring off of both of those things. And it kind of always has been. Like, there's some esports stuff that is less douchey these days, but the underpinnings of it still feel really creepy to me in a way that
like, I don't know, going back to like a half a conversation ago, but I feel like it's the way that games tend to evolve in this genre. It seems to me, as someone who's really outside of like, fighting and competitive esportsy stuff, is that a game can start casual and become esports, but like once it's pretty esports, it's hard to make it approachable to casual people who don't want to be esportsy about it. And I feel like that's just the nature of the beast. And I don't know how one would, uncomplicate it and uncouple it from like the high level technical stuff once it gets like kind of introduced to it. Like, I feel like Smash Brothers over the years, like I used to be way into the first Smash, way into the second Smash, started, petering out by the next one, and then finally, the last one that came out, and now there's like 600 characters and I'm just completely overwhelmed. So I don't know, like I wish there was a way to make it more approachable, but it even feels like casual players are so much more high level. Like, I used to be able to play Smash Brothers at like, people's Christmas parties or something like that. And now it's like, I'm just not even going to try because everyone like has learned the tech, even like people that are not even like big into the actual like arena competition area of it all.
Yeah, I think Smash is an interesting, like it's I think it's kind of, it can be a poster child for this sort of thing in some ways, by virtue of like how prevalent the concept of playing without items has become.
Yeah.
It's unfun.
It's a game that was always meant to just be like, here's a bunch of weird chaos. I mean, it was meant to have some Mario Party-esque bullshit in there. Fuck it. Like, here's a weird item that's going to turn the tables and, hey, it's goofy. Have a good time. And, like Mario Kart or something. Like, here's your fucking weird blue shell situation that turns the situation around for you and all that sort of stuff. And the way that community has embraced this other mode of that game as like, here's the serious way to play, has then gone to, because a lot of people, like he's saying, like 90,000 people are watching these Overwatch streams. The thing that happens, this happens with fighting game tournaments a lot too, where you see someone do really well with a character that you maybe play a little bit of or something like that, but you see them do some shit and you're like, oh, I can do that. Oh, that's what I need to do. And so your own play style changes to kind of fit the more of that esportsy kind of mold, because that's the tech of the month or whatever, and then it'll get patched again and things will change and whatever. But you have like situations where you'll probably, like, I'm sure players like will watch an Overwatch match and be like, oh shit, these 3 characters, if we do this with this, we can do this. And so you see that team comp probably roll out big. You hear about this in Dota a lot too, where it's like, everyone after the international goes and tries to do all the shit they saw watching the international. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like that makes perfect sense. But at the same time, at some point, like, it's just it starts to make the game a little bit less approachable. My highlights of competitive gaming have always been arcade stuff, and I realized that that's just never going to be an option again. But it was always that idea of just like, well, I'm going to go to this place and play with the people that play at this place, and I know here I'm okay. I'm in the mix. I'm not winning every match, but I'm not losing everyone. Hey, there's this other arcade. Like, there was the idea of just like, we're going to go into San Francisco and play Street Fighter, and you're like, whoa, really? Like, yeah, we're going to drive into the city and play. That's cool. All right, man. We're going to get fucking stabbed, and we're not going to win a single match, but let's go. And you'd go and just see people that were fucking doing shit that you had never seen before in your life at a game that you had already played hundreds of hours of. And so, like, that always kind of existed in a certain state, because then you would watch them and go like, oh fuck, I'm going to go back to the bowling alley and try and fuck people up with it. And then they would get really pissed off and they would have to learn to counter, and everyone eventually gets better, but
the information is so accessible now, even to like the most like entry level like players.
Yeah. And I don't know.
That super casuals like me that don't give a shit and just want to mash buttons and see if I do decent, I can't compete with, my previous work's holiday party. I was last place every time. It's like, great, okay, this isn't fun.
Yeah, right. Like, this is like, what's the point of this anymore? Yeah, definitely. I think that
everyone's using their mains and being actually competitive, and I just wanted to, drink eggnog or whatever and goof around.
And I think the thing is, like, Smash Brothers just isn't that game anymore.
No, yeah, it's not.
Like, Mario Kart is probably still that game. Like, what else? Like, what other, like...
I was going to say, it's not quite answering the question, but a twist on it is, I feel like Game Freak and Nintendo don't quite care to a huge amount of the competitive Pokemon scene, but those people have definitely made... like, Pokemon Showdown is a huge thing, and competitive Pokemon is technically 2v2, but there's a whole scene that insists on doing 1v1, and the games are not built to properly support Pokemon 1v1 types of matches with like a full roster of 6. Like, competitive Pokemon is you only have 4 Pokemon that you choose from like a list of 6 or whatever. But in Pokemon, there's people come to that fucking franchise for numerous different things, whether it is just playing the games, shiny catching and everything, that the competitive esports like scene just feels like such a niche community that I feel like Game Freak barely touches and does stuff to accommodate for those folks. That they've just made their own stuff. They make their own ban lists with a whole panel of people. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know, different communities crop up and do all that sort of stuff. I think it's fine. And generally speaking, it shouldn't be a problem in the most popular games if you're going online, because if the matchmaking is doing its job, then it's always going to try to match you up with someone of similar skill, and you should be able to have a good time and not just immediately get stomped. I think the problem is when you get through 2 years of a game's release, but this happens in fighting games all the time, and you come back and the only people left playing Tekken 7 are absolutely badass at it, and more power to them. They should
hardcore,
be like, it's like I can't, like,
I mean, no hate toward people who play these games competitively. Absolutely not. Like,
it's certainly on me for not not putting in the time to get that good. But also, I think that games would be better served to a wider array of people if they found more ways to have enjoyable competitive experiences for people that don't play it exclusively.
I wish that for example, I wish that Smash for example, I know they can't possibly do this, but this is my pie in the sky idea. If you're at, your freaking holiday party and everybody is completely destroying you, and it's just like, I'm going to play one round and leave because everyone's clearly in a different league than me and I can't, have fun because they're all beating the shit out of me. I wish there was a flexible difficulty that could handicap those players. Like, clearly this player is really, 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 really good, and this person has played this game in, when it came out on the N64 and has not much dabbled with it afterwards. It would be cool if that's a thing that could happen, like, on the fly.
Yeah, on the fly that'd be the interesting, because I think it does. I'm pretty sure those games do have,
because like matchmaking online can work, but then in person it's just like out the window, But this is, I understand, a very niche problem,
Sure.
But I don't. I mean, I guess I don't think it necessarily is a niche problem. I think if you're thinking about ways to make games appeal to an even larger audience, like, this is a way to do. Like, you need to find ways for larger crowds of people to enjoy your competitive game, and finding ways to make that happen. Whether it's like, oh, we've got a different matchmaking hopper entirely, which that doesn't always, like, you play unranked matches, but it's still going to be, you're still going to run into that problem of like the only people playing this game are crazy at it. And so, like, I don't know what the solution is there, because I realize it's like like, obviously these games are competitive, people take them seriously. I love watching high level fighting gameplay, and I think it's fucking great that people are able to put in the time and get that fucking good at it. But
it's amazing.
Yeah, but at some point, like, that's, just from a pure business sense, that's DLC I'm not buying, because I punched out of that game a year and a half ago.
Sure.
Whereas if they had better ways, and there are a lot of ways to do this, making a game free to play sometimes ensures that you've constantly got new players onboarding all the time, because there's zero barrier to entry. Like, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but like, I think that there needs to be more room for that kind of like, hey, we're fucking around, we're having some drinks, and we're just going to play this fucking game and whatever, we're having a good time. And I don't think it's cool that the only games that fit that anymore are almost like, in some circles, thought of as like kids games and all this other stuff. Like, I spent a lot of time in my late teens drinking beer and playing Street Fighter and having a wonderful time. And it'd be cool if something like that was a lot easier to attain, even in a world where we're playing online against strangers. Especially because, like, I'm not going to have time to like get a crew of people together. I mean, the ideal is you find that group of like-minded players and you say like, hey, every Thursday we're going to get together and play. That's not always feasible either. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just feel like that there's room for games with serious competitive scenes to find ways to be more inviting to players who are never going to attain that and are never going to be able to truly strive for that, to be able to still have an easy way into having a good time. I don't know.
It's a difficult. I mean, we don't have the answers all the time.
No, we don't. It seems like a super hard problem.
It's an interesting thing to think about, though. Definitely.
Yeah. Let's see. Jeff writes in here, says, what are your thoughts on paper straws? They've become the norm here in Canada, and I hate them. To me, they're worse for the environment because I don't get any use out of them. They just go straight in the trash.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of sippy
real
lids.
hot take.
Fan of sippy lids on ice drinks.
Oh, I hate a sippy lid.
Wait, explain that.
Like it's like a normal coffee
Maybe like
cup,
a
but
coffee
it's plastic.
lid?
Yeah, a coffee cup lid, but it's plastic, and you, instead of like putting a straw through that bad boy, where like it's gonna get dented and eaten
But it's
up.
still plastic.
Yeah, but you're still, you just sip it, and then they occasionally.
Are they going to make paper versions of that?
I just
Or is
don't
that
think that's the
feasible?
solution. Like, the
No,
solution
because
is to
my
avoid
solution to
plastic.
the shitty sippy cup where the flow is all wrong is to go get a straw and stick it through that hole. And so they're using extra plastic to make the cup, and I'm still jamming a plastic straw in there.
So I'm just surprised that like we haven't come up with anything better. Like, I just think obviously the paper straws are not the way to go because they just don't work. right? Like
I haven't
okay.
had much trouble with. I don't know. Like if you're a
yeah.
slow drinker, I guess they eventually
Yeah, like,
decompose. But
I
like
guess that's what it is.
How
Like
slow do you got to drink these things?
I feel like that's the big complaint is that they don't work, that they eventually just kind of turn to mush.
If you're chewing on it, sure, don't chew on your straws, but
So
the end in the drink is eventually going to fall apart.
Yeah, I mean,
I drink fast enough that hasn't been.
Yeah,
a
I've never
problem.
had that happen to me. We have like a bunch of reusable metal straws in the house, and I like go back and forth on whether or not that was like the right move, just because they like the metal straws can still get gnarly, and they still like there's they have their own problems. It's better than throwing away plastic, but
easy solution. Whoever works in business and listens to this podcast, please at least toss me $20 when you take this on. Simple. Just put a hole in the bottom of everything now. Just like drip feed that shit.
Shotgun everything.
like a hamster like feeder kind of thing.
Can you imagine, right? They actually solve this in third world countries, including the Philippines. They put soda in bags, right? Cut a little hole in the bottom, just drip feed that soda into my mouth.
That's still plastic.
I just don't think we're all going to do that.
It's not as much.
But what if everybody drank through those
smoothies? Think about smoothies. Just pouring that into your mouth isn't the best part of eating a drumstick. You just bite it from the bottom and then just suck the ice cream out.
Yeah, it's like a makeshift cake frosting situation where you throw it in a plastic bag, cut the corner off, and you're just like squeezing the cake frosting into your mouth.
Well, I think that
all over your face.
I think we've solved this with hamsters. They've got those little drinky mechanisms with the little metal ball in there to keep
that's what I was talking
water
about.
from. Yeah, one of those. And we also have
like a ramen situation.
Ooh.
thermoses.
Like the ball in the bottle.
What about like motherfucking like how do we not come up with wasn't there like a vegetable plastic at some point? Like wasn't there something like that where they were like, yo, we turned all these trees into straws?
Definitely saw a bunch of plant-based forks in the office when they were still in office.
Made out of potatoes.
I just think how do we not have like a material that just completely dissolves into carbohydrates after like 2 hours of exposure to moisture? Like what's the problem?
Make everything.
Instead, we're coming up with fucking filters for Instagram. Let's crack that nut before we fucking come up with a way to.
Same innovators, same
people. Like, I'm telling you, they get poached out of MIT. They're like, yo, you got two choices in life. You can solve the microplastic crisis, or you could come up with the sickest fucking Instagram filter known to man. And guess where the money's at?
Which one pays better?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
That's the problem with capitalism, baby. Doesn't incentivize the right things.
Make everything out of Jello.
Yep.
I trust Jello.
I trust Jello.
That's not.
I've always said that.
It's not vegan though.
Not always the best clean spokespeople, but I love Jello just the same.
Not a vegan straw.
Donald from Christchurch, New Zealand, writes in and says, "Shadow the Hedgehog is just Vegeta."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't I can't comment on that. I just don't have enough Vegeta exposure. I know Shadow.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to fill in the blanks here for me.
I mean, he's like a ambiguous
frenemy
/ evil, frenemy sort of to Sonic the Hedgehog. He has an edge to him that makes him the coolest character in the entire fiction.
He's brooding, angry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deep past.
Shadow would grow a mustache for a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Yeah.
Vegeta did.
Is Shadow a bad man?
Shadow is a bad man.
Would Shadow kill an entire village of people?
He's already done that.
There you go.
He has?
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
God, my kid's all worked up about like Jim Carrey not showing up in Sonic 3 potentially. Just gotta put that out there.
Yeah.
He also thought, and he just dropped this on me, he also thought that at the end of Sonic 1, where they were like in the movie, they were talking about like coming back for Christmas, that meant Sonic 2 had to come out right before Christmas. I just
that would have
put
been cute.
My hand on his shoulder. I was like, oh, you stupid, dumb idiot. That's not how things work. And
yeah.
But look, he's got a point. You live, you learn. Look, everything he needs to learn in life as a preteen, he will learn from watching the Sonic movies 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many that they do.
Hey, when you're here, your family.
Exactly.
Got to live and learn.
That's the The real parents, the Sonic films.
Yeah.
Ben in Boston writes in and says, "Are you worried about
again.
Remedy?"
Him again.
Yeah.
Are you worried about who?
Are you worried about Remedy? You recognize that Telltale Games was in trouble before their closure because they'd expanded so quickly and so extensively. Remedy has also lately taken on a lot more than ever before, with as many as 5 games on the books all of a sudden. Are you worried about Remedy, or is their situation different?
I think they're in their own category.
Yeah.
Their situation is I think their situation is different, because I think the industry's situation is very different now, where suddenly everyone did really well, made a lot of money over the pandemic. Like, there was just a lot of money in video games, and so everyone expanded, everyone hired up. A lot of studios grew from 1 game to 2 games, from 2 games to 3 games, whatever. Like, there's just been a lot of expansion on that front, along with the consolidation and studios getting purchased and stuff like that. I would not be shocked if someone acquired Remedy at some point. I don't know if they're on the market or looking, insofar as everyone's always looking, but Remedy is doing some really good work right now. They've got some decent IP, like the Control stuff is a little wrapped up with 505 Games, so it's not fully theirs. And I guess the Max Payne stuff is probably still locked up with Rockstar. But Alan Wake is theirs again, right? Like, that's they got that back. So
it did not ever cross my mind that they are in trouble.
No. If every game that they have on the books right now tanks, then hey, we'll see. But
yeah,
I mean, they got Crossfire X, y'all.
I was just gonna say they do have that. But...
I mean, hopefully that paid well up front, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because Crossfire is a huge money maker overseas, so hopefully they didn't take that project hoping to make a bunch of profit on the back end. They were like, "Oh, you want us to do Crossfire? Okay." Like, hopefully they negotiated that in such a way that it worked out for them.
Baba Yaga.
Yeah. God, Crossfire X. Why are we even? Oh. Liam in Ireland writes in and says, "There's been a lot of chatter lately about whether God of War Ragnarok will release in 2022 or 2023. Where do you all stand on this?"
23.
23.
Yeah, I gotta say 23. Yeah,
I think they could still get it out by the end of the year. I think it's possible, but I am leaning towards next year as well, because that's a safer bet.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, like, the year's half over right now.
Yeah, the year's half over and we haven't heard. They did put out that video, was that last week?
24
talking about
even,
the accessibility. Like, here are the accessibility options in the game, which if they're that far along, then clearly to show here's the accessibility options, then they've done a lot of, they've done a lot of work on that game. I know that.
I'd be happy to be wrong.
Yeah. Someone has to ship this gear.
Yeah.
Right?
I think stuff is cleared out in such a way and been pushed back that my expectations have just gone down in expecting stuff this year at all.
Yeah. And I don't know if Sony, I don't know what their plans are for showing games this summer, if they decide to do anything on their own, or there's always a possibility that something shows up during Keely's thing in a couple weeks here. But I would expect that Sony would do their own thing a little bit later down the road.
And announce it 2 days ahead of time.
Exactly, yeah. Hey, we got a PlayStation. What do they even call those things? I forget. State of Play. We got a State of Play coming Thursday. It's going to be 45 minutes, and it's not going to be related to PlayStation to VR 2. Let's see. Chris from Alabama writes in. We'll make this our last email. So we've had a lot of talk about GameStop stores, but how about some stuff from the GameStop Managers Conference?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Ooh, they had a conference.
Yes, the Managers Conference. Yes, they had a conference.
Where is that held, by the way? That I need to know.
I feel like it was Arizona. I don't actually know, but I think I want to say it was either Vegas or somewhere in Arizona, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, Typically we'd have a couple of days of vendor training rooms, a mini E3 floor style show one evening, and then a day of corporate stuff where everyone was either falling asleep, hungover, or hyped up on energy drinks. One year they literally
Why would you leave that for last?
Yeah, I know.
Gotta lead with that.
One year they literally had giant tubs of free NOS energy drinks so that everyone was drinking unhealthy amounts of them.
Jesus.
Everyone remembers Mr. Caffeine from the Ubisoft press conference a few years back. He did the vendor training every year. Imagine being stuck in a conference room with him for an hour going over their slate of games with arguably even more energy than at the E3 show. God.
Oh no. Oh no.
So yeah, so if you're not
Where
familiar,
is he now?
Where yeah, I don't know.
The gutter?
Yeah.
The gutter.
So they would do, so these managers conferences, like companies show up to pitch to managers, and they often would show games that were not shown at E3. They'd be like, oh, for the managers here, we want to show you this. This is what we're going to be selling this Christmas. And, hey, we think it's a big deal. You should get people to pre-order it. So it's this big time for companies to show up and pitch to managers. And, I'll finish his email and we can talk about stories I heard from the fucking managers conference.
Okay.
Most non-HR appropriate vendor room every year. Surprisingly, it was Nintendo. Kevin Pereira would host their room every year along with some of the Treehouse staff. It was typically a race for him to break the other hosts with sex jokes about the product lineup. There are also videos of him pitching horrible game titles to Nintendo that seem to have been put under strict lock and key by Nintendo because they are impossible to find online. I do remember there being a Human Centipede game for the Wii reference at some point. Also, Weebola. So, funny jokes. Funny jokes. We got jokes over here at the managers conference. You would hear stories about like roving fucking gangs of GameStop managers out on the town, like fucking hammered, going around getting into fucking hijinks all around town, like people that had not left their hometown in fucking years or ever, being shipped off to some other part of the country and drinking themselves silly. I feel like every story I heard was just about like, yeah, and all these GameStop managers, like people that were there to do the show or vendors or whatever. Sometimes we would hear from managers who would write in or whatever, that like all of it just sounded like this debaucherous fucking mess of a bunch of sloppy drunks that had no idea what they're doing.
I looked up the IMDb of Mr. Caffeine, Aaron Priceman. He his first role, I believe, was in 1995 for a TV movie called Piranha, where he played camp counselor. And now I really want to track down Piranha and see how he does as camp counselor.
Yeah. There were complaints about Mr. Caffeine the year he did E3, and they did not bring him back.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. The GameStop Managers Conference always seems like a really just strange. Oh, Texas. Luis Rod in chat is saying that it was Texas. That actually sounds right too. I don't know. Yeah, Garland, or maybe they bring people out to. Is that where corporate HQ was?
Or is it a different
Garland?
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway. Yes, doing the GameStop Managers Conference, talking to people that work at publishers and stuff like that would have to go out there and put on presentations. Like some people said, like it was actually really fun. It was just like this weird debaucherous thing, and then some people were like, "This was a fucking nightmare. Like those people got out of fucking control, hammered, and were like hitting on me at the buffet or hitting on this restaurant nearby, or just just bizarre." Not bizarre, a bunch of fucking drunken behavior from people who probably needed to be clamped down on a little bit more.
A little bit.
People feeling
maybe cut off,
emboldened.
Yes, perhaps a little emboldened as a roving gang of GameStop managers. Sounds like a South Park
came
RPG
to the wrong
enemy.
neighborhood, motherfucker.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Chris for that. That's going to be our last email of the show. Bombcast@giantbomb.com. That's where you keep sending them. And we'll keep reading them. That's all we got. What else is going on this week? We got Arcade Pit happening.
Yes. Tomorrow will be a special treat. My teammate next week, because, the team with Jess over here broke up due to circumstances.
Yeah.
Who's behind that?
It's not a mutual breakup. Teaming up with the homie. Shouts out to the homie, and that's all I'll say.
Oh,
okay.
Someone that just constantly says shouts out. So,
yep.
Well, shouts out to the homie. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Giant Bombcast. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.